What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
All right. What is it, Friday night? That must mean that it's Radio Baloney Live. I'm your host, Richie Baloney. How's everybody doing? What's going on? Who we got in the chat already? We already got Izzy. We got Rosie. We got Jam. It's good to see you guys. Now, who got the first like on the stream? As everybody knows, everybody by now knows that when you like the stream or subscribe to the channel, follow the channel, whatever, but when you like the stream, you get good karma. You get one good karma. I am building up a reservoir constantly of good karma. I can't keep it because that would be bad karma. So I have to give it away as I keep building it. And I give it to you guys for doing something, for doing the right thing, which is liking the stream and also subscribing to the channel and giving me money. I give it to you guys for doing the right thing. And the first one, the first like, gets double good karma. Come on. Now, as everybody knows, we're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on Locals. If you were to get the first like on each one of those, that would be 8 good karmas. Come on. I mean, come on. In these troubled times, I wouldn't turn my back on it. That's all I'm saying. Rosie got like number 2. You know what? Like number 2, don't do this all the time. 1.5 good karmas for you, Rosie. 1.5. That's 0.5 extra than normal. Let's see. Jamis, get on there quick if you get the third one. If you get the third one, that's 1.25 for you. Generosity. All right. Can everybody hear me out there? For some reason, I'm feeling like I'm paranoid and I feel like nobody can hear me. Can you guys hear me? All right. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Quickly, what are you guys saying? Izzy is very tired, experiencing major sleep cloud. Uh-oh. That's not a good sign. Not a good sign for the show. Uh-oh. Let's see. Rosie says you're the fourth person in an hour I have known to express extreme sleepiness. I blame weather modification. Let's see. Travis says no football game in Saskatchewan because of forest fire, air quality. Yikes. Yikes. Everybody look up my video that I did. I think it's only on Rumble because I figured that if I put it on YouTube, they'd like nuke my channel. But on Rumble, I put out a video on the Canadian forest fires. I did a deep dive on it, go through all of the arson, but I also went into the stats for controlled burns in Canada, which there are records of. And yeah, it's not surprising. So they used to do a ton of, and you could do it, they break it down by province as well. They used to do a ton of controlled burns, and people complained because of the smoke. I believe they had the same. This is part of the reason for the fires in California as well. People complained about the smoke, so they just stopped doing them, and the material just kept building up and building up and building up, and then you end up having out of control fires. And it's all documented. The government has this information. It's eye-opening. Let's see. Rosie says, is tonight the full moon? Uh-oh. I hope not. I might go crazy. I might go crazy. Let's see. All right. Rosie says, I cannot hear you. She's messing with me because she wouldn't say that unless I asked if you could hear me. That's the only reason she said that. She's messing with me again. Damn it, Rosie. All right. Is this a new soup? Looks good. It does look like a fantastic soup, doesn't it? Delicious. Oh, that lime in it and the shrimp and everything. Fantastic. Fantastic. It looks great. Yeah, a little bit of that. Is that a bit of... I'm not a fan of cilantro, unfortunately. But that does look great. And I'm also a huge fan of her tits. And that shoulder strap falling off. Fantastic stuff. Soup and everything that I like. All right. So what's on the menu tonight, people? What's on the menu tonight? Let's take a look. Beautiful, beautiful tits, beautiful Spanglish tits, beautiful the best. Everybody says so. All right, what's on the menu? So this is like breaking news today. So we found out why, and we're just going to go through the menu. We're not going to go through these in detail. I'm just going to show you what we're going to talk about. We go back to the chat, then we come back and deal with these in detail. So we all knew why Mark Carney didn't publicly disclose all of his conflicts of interest, all of his investments. We all knew why. It turns out it's even worse than we thought, though. It's literally 103, it turns out. So we'll be taking a look at that. We're going to take a look at the dysfunctional EU and why Canada should never want to get closer to the EU because the EU is going crazy. In the UK, well, there's a great argument here for why women should not be police officers. This is very sad. And also just how dysfunctional the kind of two-tier system is in the UK regarding just the blindness of the government there, the utter blindness of the government and refusal to look at, cultural reality. Of course, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff about the guy whose name starts with E. I'm not going to say it yet because we're on YouTube, and I don't want YouTube to immediately nuke my live stream before you even get started. But a guy whose name starts with E and who definitely did not kill himself. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Russia hoax investigation. So they're going after Comey, Brennan. It looks like that. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Of course, we've got some memes. We've got like this full-on Bolshevik revolution that's happening regarding ICE. Totally nuts. We're going to look at that, of course, and far-left extremism, which is what it is, even though the media, CNN won't call it that. CBC won't call that. BBC won't call it far-left extremism, but we all know far-left extremism when we see it, don't we? We're going to take a look at some U.S. communism here. It exists. Lots of it exists. We're going to take a look at some good news on the woke mind virus, the DEI front. Some good news. We do get good news. Is the front moving in the right direction? Well, maybe. We're going to talk about new Trump tariffs with Carney. We are going to, yes, we're going to talk about that. We've got some more news on, I guess, the Intifada in Canada, which I never voted for that. Let's see. What did we have? Which one is this? Oh, we've got some more liberal spending, which I've got some ideas on this. 6.5 million to Moldova. You know where Moldova is? That's right next to the Ukraine. This is pure speculation. I'm wondering if this is something to kind of make up for some missing USAID money. Maybe this is a little favor for the EU, perhaps, in terms of an influence campaign in Moldova, which is right next to the Ukraine, which there's a lot happening there. So Mom Donnie just keeps getting better and better. Here he is. The NYPD is racist, anti-queer, major threat to public safety. So it just never gets better with this guy. It just actually, for me, for making videos, it keeps getting better. Let's see. He wants to buy up all the properties and turn them into communes. His end goal is to seize the means of production. It just keeps getting better. Oh, let's not forget the rapping. The rapping. That's the best. Then we've got a bunch of stuff here. A bunch of stuff you guys sent in for the last tab of the evening. Lots of fun stuff here. A bit of something from everybody. There's Britney Spears going crazy again. I keep saying it's only a matter of time until she cuts off somebody's dick. It's happening. Stay away. Oh, we've got some Victor Davis Hanson here, which is, of course, we always love that. Let me refresh this. I think we might have a couple of Victor Davis Hansons in here. Anyway, we got good stuff. Lots of stuff mixed up in here. And yeah, it's all fun. Good times. So let's get back to the chat for a minute. Then we shall get started on our long evening of streaming. All right. Where are we? Okay. You guys need to get more active in the chat. I'm saying that right now. Let's see. Rosie says, my husband laughs when you say, damn it, Rosie. It's becoming a regular feature on this because you keep tormenting me. Let's see. Rosie says, guess Mark's Carney at least met the 6-month deadline. It's depressing to think that he's the prime minister. As he says, should have been required to disclose before the election. Yeah, they should really change the rule, I think. I mean, it was obvious why. It's obvious why he wasn't disclosing it. We all knew it. Everybody knew it. And now it's just being confirmed. And it's even worse than everybody thought. I mean, it's actually laughable, right? From Andy Lee, from the Real Andy Lee Show. Conflict of interest Carney's public disclosure is out. Enjoy. So, hold on a second. Yeah, it's 100. Let's take a look here quickly. It's 103. Look at all of this. And a lot of it is energy stuff. Inver Energy, Sunny Solano. I'm guessing that's like a solar panel thing. Look at all this. It's 103 conflicts of interest. Green Energy Fuels, Green Energy Brazil Tradings. Yeah, I mean, this is almost unbelievable. This is an almost unbelievable amount. Let's see, 19 Infinium. That's one he's been seen talking about before he was prime minister, which is, I believe, Infinium is a green jet fuel thing, which he says there's tons of money in that. Tons of money in that. Lots of profits. Lots of precious profits in that. I'm all for profits. I'm not necessarily for the prime minister in using his office to enrich himself, though. That's not as great. So, yeah, it's actually unbelievable. Actually unbelievable. Let's take a look from the National Post. And this just broke today. Carney to recuse himself from dealing with over 100 companies and sprawling government conflict screed. Unbelievable. The screen means that Carney cannot be involved in any official matters or decision-making processes that would further either his or the interests of the 103 companies. So there you go, no problems. There's a screen in place, which is going to be his chief of staff. And so he can't make any decisions on any of these companies that he has conflicts of interest with. And I'm sure that's it. That's fine. That solves the problem, I'm sure. I'm sure there's nothing. I'm sure there is absolutely no way that Mark Carney could take advantage of his position now because his chief of staff won't let him. I guess there's a screen. There's a screen. Before we get to that, I want to show you something here. Mark Carney dismisses questions from reporters who ask about potential conflicts of interest he might have, telling CBC's Rosemary Barton that she is acting with ill will and that her line of questioning is trying to invent new roles. This is from Alexandra Lavoie from Rebel News, the voice Alexa. She's very good. We'll start it over about here, I think.
Your assets. It's very difficult to believe.
Look inside yourself, Rosemary. I mean, you start from a prior of conflict and ill will. I have served in the private sector. I have stood up for Canada. I have left my roles in the private sector at a time of crisis for our country. I'm complying with all the rules. Your line of questioning is trying to invent new rules. I'm complying with the rules that Parliament has laid out and the responsibilities of the Ethics Commissioner.
Translated as, I have 103, at least 103 conflicts of interest. That's why, Rosemary. So, Rosemary was asking him a tough question there, right? I guess she wanted to pretend to be a journalist for 60 seconds so that then she could spend every second until the election and during the election at toadying and promoting Mark Carney, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to this article. Prime Minister Mark Carney will have to recuse himself from any discussions directly involving Brookfield Asset Management, payment processing giant Stripe, and dozens of companies owned and controlled by them as part of an extensive conflict of interest screen. In a disclosure posted Friday afternoon on the Ethics Commissioner's website, Carney said he had agreed with the Watchdog's office. Carney said he had agreed with the Watchdog's office to set up a conflict of interest screen between himself and Brookfield Asset Management, Brookfield Corporation, Stripe, and any of the 100 other companies owned or controlled by them at the time he set up a blind trust to oversee his assets. And I guess 10 years of constant corruption scandals wasn't enough for, 43% of the voting public in Canada. Or was it? I think it was 44% actually that voted for Carney. Let's see. The screen means that Carney cannot be involved in any official matters or decision-making processes that would further either his or the interests of the 103 companies, many of which operate in the renewable energy and real estate sectors. Renewable energy. Conflicts of interest. He wants to make us a green energy superpower, right? Renewable energy, 103 companies, conflicts of interest. There's no way there could be any corruption involved in this. There's no way, absolutely no way any of this could end up in corruption. Let's see, that's the largest scope I've ever heard of, commented Ian Stedman, a government ethics specialist who previously worked for Ontario's Integrity Commissioner. What did he say? That's the largest scope I've ever heard of. Again, 10 years of constant corruption scandals wasn't enough for Canada. We need more. And they're coming. I I think they're going to have to get creative to make administration of this screen efficient. It's all just a joke. It's all just a joke. But the Prime Minister isn't barred from all discussions that may impact those companies. Carney's screen contains a caveat where he can participate in discussions or decisions on matters that broadly affect any of the 103 companies if they are part of a larger group, unless those interests are disproportionate to the other members of the class. So, first off, it doesn't mean that the government can't give money to those 103 companies, right? They still can. It's just that Carney has to recuse himself, right? And obviously, he, not have any influence over the decisions at all, because that, if he did, that would be corruption, wouldn't it? And Mark Carney would never do that. Just like he would never move, just like he would never move Brookfield to tax havens. To say, oh, wait a second, he did do that, didn't he? Oh, yeah. I mean, when you think about it, Mark Carney has actually lied publicly. Let's see, what did he lie about? He lied about his involvement in moving Brookfield's headquarters to New York. He did lie about that. Let's see, he lied about stepping down from all of the organizations he was involved with before running for Prime Minister of Canada, before running for Liberal Party leadership. He did lie about that. Let's see, he lied about his communications with Trump during the election regarding the tariffs and how tough he was going to be, while assuring Donald Trump that it was all just politics and don't worry about all those tariffs coming back at him. So it does seem like he lies about a lot of stuff, but I'm sure that the screen is going to be adequate to keep him in line. I'm sure. Again, I mean, hey, after 10 years of constant liberal corruption, more corruption is the last thing we'd expect, right? Let's see. It's not immediately clear what represents disproportionate interest. I mean, this is all just a joke. Adding to the complexity is that Carney has repeatedly promised to transform Canada into a conventional and clean energy superpower. All right, so there you have it. I mean, it's just set up to be corrupt. And Carney, I'm sure, feels like he can just do anything anyway. I mean, again, he lied all throughout. He lied before the campaign. He lied during the campaign. He was caught doing so. Nothing. He just parachuted back into Canada from where he was living in New York, or he was living in Europe or something. He'd barely spent any time in Canada. He just parachuted in, immediately started lying, and none of it mattered. None of it mattered. He just threw out this lowest common denominator political tactic of elbows up and chicken dance, and it was all fine. Everything just worked. He must feel like he's just fated to be prime minister or something. It's like he barely even had to try. It was just handed to him. Certainly by the media handed it to him, obviously. The media was entirely complicit in tricking Canadians into voting for this globalist hobgoblin. But here we go. I mean, it's just, I start to think that Canada is just San Francisco now, or LA, or New York, or Chicago. That's what Canada is now. There is no way out. The country is just too stupid. The country is too propagandized. It's been too socially engineered. And really nothing will matter. We're just going to we've just gotten to a place where, okay, the last Liberal prime minister was terrible, but the next one's really going to get the job done. That's what it was with Carney. That's what it was with Carney. The second that Trudeau was gone, Carney's approval rating just went through the roof. As soon as they knew that Trudeau was going and he was going to be replaced by this guy, right? All of a sudden the polls shot up. And that wasn't because Pierre Poilievre was doing a terrible job. That was just because the left just wanted to vote left. And there's more of them now, and they're just going to, right? Like California, they may hate Gavin Newsom, but they'll just vote in another Democrat for the next guy, and they'll say, well, he'll be better, but they just won't vote for anybody sane, right? I think that might be the case in Canada. I'm hoping not. I'm not convinced of that. I'm not even saying that that's the most likely outcome, is that Canada just becomes a one-party state. I'm just saying that I fear that that's the case. That's a possibility. We might just have turned into, again, New York or LA or San Francisco or Chicago or one of those places, or Seattle, where it's just the next liberal, the next leftist will be better. And there's never a chance for a conservative to do anything. So I hope that's not the case. Again, I'm not convinced of that. I still would put my money on the Conservatives winning the next election as this liberal government continues to be incompetent and crumble and ineffective. And he is going to be as unpopular as Trudeau, I think, probably in a year's time. I mean, look at the debacle that the trade negotiations have turned into. Not impressive. Not impressive. All right. Let's go back to the chat for a second. I'll have some more rant juice. I feel like I need some more rant juice. I feel like my energy levels are not where they should be. All right. Let's see. Rosie asks, what is she cooking? I don't know. Some sort of soup thing? I don't know. All right, hold on. Izzy says, wonder why he doesn't want pipelines. Well, he's all for pipelines in like the global south, as they call it, but not in Canada. He wants to extract every penny that he can from Canada to give to green boondoggles, companies that he's been involved in, part of his ESG fund with Brookfield. That's what he wants to do. That's why he's laying off. Public sector workers now. Right? That is coming as a shock to public sector workers, I'm guessing. I mean, look, they would have been better off voting for Pierre Poilievre, because Pierre Poilievre wasn't going to just start cutting them. He was going to do it through attrition. So as people retired, he wouldn't be replacing them. So I think he was only going to replace 2 out of 3 people when they retired or left their work. Right? So they're those people that are getting canned now in Ottawa, probably in his district that he lost, the people who voted against Pierre Poilievre, they directly voted against their own jobs, which is incredible. They would have kept their jobs with Pierre. But why would he do that? Well, he wants to cut down. He's telling us he wants to cut down. Mark Carney, let's bring this back up again. So why is he doing that? He wants to balance the operating budget. So he's done this trick where he's decided to try and trick the Canadian people by saying, well, the budget is actually 2 different things. It's the operating budget, which is just to keep the government going, and then investment. So he split it into 2. It's just a very childish little magic trick that he's doing. But he says by cutting the operating budget, then we can invest more. So that sounds great, right? Investing more, unless it's in green boondoggles, like all those EV plants, the $52 billion that was wasted on EV plants in Canada under Trudeau, under Mark Carney's advice. But somebody made a lot of money. Some people made a lot of money out of that. So Mark Carney's goal, I believe, is to extract as much money as possible from whatever. And if he has to fire public sector workers to do it, that's fine. That's more money that can go into the pockets of the investment, right? That's more investment that could go into the pockets of companies that he's associated with. The 103 companies, to be precise. I mean, we know it's at least that. Anyway, that's why he doesn't want pipelines. Rosie says, Izzy, do you know either of these songs, Baby Shark or This Is the Song That Never Ends? Are those children's songs? Let's see. Izzy says, so he can't be prime minister given he can't be involved in any important decisions. Well, this is the other question, right? Like, it's okay. So the, what is it? The public safety minister has to recuse himself from the terrorism file because he has associations with terrorist groups. You know, it's just kind of like that, only actually even worse. The reason that we're just finding out about it now, that he didn't release any of this during the election or before the election, is because it might have cost him the election. I still don't think so, actually. I think that Canada has one of the most uninformed, ignorant, and gullible voting bases in the Western world. I think the people who voted for him literally know nothing. Literally know nothing, right? I told you about, I was at a garage sale a few weeks ago or something. I told you guys about this. But the guy in there, he had a bunch of trading cards, I guess, and somebody was looking at, he's selling a bunch of trading cards. He was selling everything for way too much, by the way, complete idiot. But I guess somebody looked at a Wayne Gretzky card and he starts going, Wayne Greasy, he's a trumper, he's a trumper, he's a trumper. This is the, I believe, the typical Liberal voter, the typical elbows up chicken dance in the living room in front of Rosemary Barton because she said so, because the teleprompter said so. I think that's your typical Liberal voter right there. He's a trumper. Wayne Greasy. Yeah, you have to change Wayne Gretzky's name to Wayne Greasy because he's friends with Donald Trump. He's been friends with Donald Trump for decades, and he didn't immediately come out and betray his friend. Yes, because that's what a good person would do, right? I guess that's what a real Canadian would do. Ugh, disgusting. All right, anyway. I'm just going off on lots of rants. Let's see. Rosie says, condescending jerk, look inside yourself. I know. We did cover this when it happened, too. Look inside. What a weird thing to say. All right. Rosie's got an idea here. Politicians may keep any holdings. However, any gain during tenure in office must be donated then 5 years after office. That's a good plan. I like that plan. I like that plan a lot. Let's see. Story time with Uncle Kumaran over on YouTube. Now, I always say to people, because 99.9% of the chat on this channel is from Rumble. We got a great community here. It's awesome. There's always way more people over here. There is YouTube just hides my channel, apparently. It just hides the live stream thumbnail. Nobody knows what's going on. But 99% of the chat that you see on the screen is from Rumble. So if you want to be a part of the community, come over to Rumble. Come over to Rumble. That's the place. If you want to interact, everybody's awesome. Everybody will welcome you in. It's a great place to be. All right. Let's see. Nevada says, I think Bongino might quit over Epstein. Good to see you, JJ. I think Bongino might quit over the Epstein boat. Yeah, so that's coming up. We're covering that. All right. All right. So, from Radio Genoa. So we'll go to the EU and every time we look at the EU, it's just getting worse. This was Barcelona, and now it's Islamabad. So Barcelona, I was there about 20 years ago. I didn't see this. So it wasn't the Middle East yet. And it was really nice. Beautiful, beautiful place. Not the least because it didn't have this. See, the thing you have to understand is in the Islamic world, they're still mad about the Reconquista because, the Moors, the North African Muslims took over Spain for, I think, 700 years until about, 1400 or 1500. And they're still mad about it and they want it back, which would be a great reason to not let them in. Right? This is probably what it's about. This is probably about the Reconquista, them getting it back again. So I don't know why would, like, Barcelona, beautiful city. Why do this to yourself? I mean, it feels very aggressive, does it not? And this isn't like a nice local thing. Like, you can see there's Arabic on here. From Saskglass, Canada, how about it? So, who agrees with Denmark's position? Denmark bans the burqa and tells Muslims to adjust to their culture and rules, face legal issues, or leave their country. Thoughts? Denmark, W or L? Yeah, I think that you have to protect your culture, right? I think it's pretty clear that there's no assimilation going on. When you've got that in Denmark, the burqa, that's not assimilation. I don't know why feminists have never been up in arms about this. I've said this before, but a lot of those feminists that are out, because I don't know, maybe there's a law passed in Alabama or something where you can't have an abortion right up until the moment of birth, and then they're out in their Handmaid's Tales outfits. Do they know that Margaret Atwood was inspired to write The Handmaid's Tale by the Islamic Revolution in Iran in 1979, and the purity laws or the modesty laws that they passed, where women had to cover their hair? Are they aware of that? No, of course they're not aware of that. Denmark bans the burqa and tells Muslims to adjust to their culture and rules. Yeah, I think the only opposition to that could be that your culture doesn't matter and just anybody should just be able to take over. And that just doesn't seem right to me. That doesn't seem very sane. That seems suicidal to me, right? Like, Europeans, who are the indigenous people of Europe, have a right to defend their cultures, right? I don't think that this lady should go to, I don't know, Saudi Arabia and try to, turn everybody into feminists and colonize them with their Western ideas. I think you should leave the Saudis alone. Do whatever they want. I do think it's absurd to have, like, the UN naming Saudi Arabia onto the Council of Women's Rights. That's totally nuts. But you know what? They've made up their mind. It's like the Taliban, right? The Taliban, 20 years of occupation there, and they didn't change their minds. They did not change their minds. They said, nope, we like the 8th century, and we're going to stay right here. So it seems kind of fruitless, doesn't it? Steve Tollison, good to see you. I always say to everybody over on YouTube, you can join us, join the group, join the chat over on Rumble. That's where all the stuff on the screen is coming from, 99% of it. But we love you over on YouTube. We love everybody who watches on YouTube. But I'm just saying that if you want to be part of the cool kids, right? The cool kids. We have a great community over here on Rumble. So just to let you know. And YouTube doesn't let anybody know my live streams are on anyway, which is, you know what? So I don't feel any loyalty there. I feel loyalty to you guys, though. So I'm just telling you. Nevada says it took Spain around 500 years to get rid of the Muslims last time. It was longer, I believe. I think it took them 700 years to get rid of them. And then just let them back in. It'll be different this time, I'm sure. Storytime says, ban the burqa outside of Islamic countries. Yes. Like, or any country that wants to ban it should just ban it. Like, you should be able to. That this shouldn't be even controversial, right? It's barbaric. I'm saying that right now. It's barbaric. None of this cultural relativism. It's barbaric. Now, in the Middle East, where I don't want to go, if they want to do that there, okay, do that there. Conquer it, invading, taking over, putting in a, puppet government. None of that works anyway. So I'd say just let them have at it. If they've said, nope, we've thought about it long and hard, and we like living in the 6th century, fine then. Go ahead. None of my business. That is none of my business. But here in Canada or the United States or Denmark, I think, and it still boggles my mind that every woman, I mean, if they want to march, they should be marching for stuff like this, because you want a patriarchy. Hey, they got one for you. And it's a hell of a lot more of a patriarchy than the one that exists here, which doesn't actually exist. What we have is a matriarchy. But if you want a patriarchy, they got one. And if you invite them in, they're going to bring it with them. So good luck with that. Hey, you know what? If Canada becomes Islamic, I'm actually fine. I'm more than fine, actually. It would benefit me greatly, right? I'm not going to lose anything. I don't, my testimony in court doesn't go down to 1/5 of a man's because I'm a man, right? It's really the women who should be taking this up. I mean, do I want 3, 4, 5 wives? Not really. I can't afford it anyway, right? But at least to have the option. So look, I'm fine. I'll be fine. It's the women. It's the women who need to get on top of this. All right. And I do love bacon. That's the thing. I love bacon. So that would be a problem. All right. What are you guys saying? Steve Tollison says, California wants Kamala Harris. Good Lord. What happened to California?
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
I think California thinks it did. It thinks it did. And, oh, well, that's what I don't want to happen to Canada. Let's see. Spabbot, how you doing? Says, once Alberta exits Confederation, I won't care that the remains of Canada goes full Sharia. I think it is a realistic possibility. I think Canada is going to be in such a financial shambles after Mark Carney has completed his work of extracting every penny, not only every penny out of Canada now, but for the future, like for decades, right? Like he's a $92 billion budget deficit this year. He's even worse than Trudeau. Like it's double what we were told it was going to be just a few months ago. You tell me that this guy isn't just raiding the country, right? This is all going to be borrowed money. There's going to have to be interest paid on it. That's already a problem at over $1 billion a week in Canada. With an economy a tenth the size of the United States, that's already a problem. Mark Carney is going to leave Canada. He's going to empty the cupboards, and he's going to leave Canada in a financial shambles. He's going to max out every credit card, and he'll be fine afterwards. He'll leave. He'll be fine afterwards. Nothing will happen to him. He'll be a globalist hero. He'll be a green carbon hero after that. Rest of Canada will be in a shambles. And there's going to be major economic demands made of Alberta and its energy industry from the rest of Canada. And I think it's an absolute possibility. In history, things things go slow, and then very fast. And you wake up and it's a different world and it's a different country. That's the way it tends to go. Slow, 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 and then very fast, and people can't believe it. And that could be the case with Alberta. Let's see. JJ Devada says, Richie, make all those wives get jobs. Are you talking about the burqa ladies? They could be letterboxes. All right. That was not a racism. Boris Johnson made that same joke. That was not a I didn't do a racism there. Right? Get off my back. Get off my back. All right. Did we have something else here? See, this is why I love this community, because we barely actually done any tabs yet, and yet we've been talking for 45 minutes because you guys bring up good points. This is what I like. It takes it in places, in directions I wasn't expecting. It's fun. All right. Let's see. Okay. If you want to see something extremely pitiable. Okay, hold on. What is this? Okay. I think I need, do I have the original footage? Okay, I need to just, okay, I'm not as prepared as I hoped I'd be. I need to just find something very quickly. And hopefully this won't take too long. Let's see, Manchester Airport Police kick. Let's see if we can find the original story. Here we go. All right, here we go. So about a year ago, there was what was called police brutality at Manchester Airport. Let's hear what this guy said. This guy is Ahmed Yaqub. Ahmed Yaqub. Because the police were doing brutality on just this poor innocent Muslim guy who had never done anything wrong. Let's take a look.
Disgusting police brutality. Not only that, they're acting like thugs after that man has kicked the young man who was posing no threat. His mother was sitting beside him. The woman police officer threatened to taser the person who's making the video and capturing their crimes. If this
Yeah, no threat. No threat. This is kind of familiar. I think everybody's kind of seen this kind of thing before. Just poor guy. I mean, his mother was right there. Now this female police officer might disagree that he was doing nothing. He just that he was just sitting by his mother. I'm sure she disagreed after he punched her in the face and broke her nose.
Sit down for me.
So, and this just came out. So the original event, the police brutality event, was a year ago. This just came out for some reason. I wonder why that would be. I wonder why this was hidden from the public for so long. Now, we also have to deal with the issue of this woman obviously is not suited to be a police officer, and it's insane she was ever put in this position. But let's go to here. So, from Laurie Wastel, after this happened, the local Labour MP, Paul Watt, went and met the men who allegedly did it and their family for a long time in their home. It's clear from talking to them that they are traumatized, he said, adding that you can imagine just how distraught they are. Does he mention that they had attacked two people in the airport before they broke that policewoman's nose? And then an actual big bloke had to come by and to put him on the ground. And yes, he did kick him in the face. Which, let's see, the guy had proven himself to be dangerous and a threat, and the cop did, I think, what he felt like he had to do, considering it all.
I met the family yesterday for a long time in their home.
It's clear from talking to them that they are traumatized. Lots of people saw that video clip and were really distressed by it. The police themselves said it was a distressing clip. But just imagine if that was your brother, that was your son in that video. And
if my brother was attacking people in an airport and punched a woman, police or not, in the face, breaking her nose, I would say, I think you kind of had it coming. But this is an example of the kind of two-tiered system in the UK, the suicidal empathy. This is an example of woke dysfunction, right? I guess you could call it social justice. Like, we used to have justice, and then the left added on, they qualified it by saying social justice, which turned it into something else, which turned it into injustice, right? This is what the left does. This is a prime example of woke dysfunction. He made sure to inform the BBC that the family's priorities were healing and getting better, and justice, not just to be done, but to be seen to be done. It kind of feels like when the guy got kicked in the face, that might have been the justice, right? Let's show again this. So it's just dysfunction all around. It's just dysfunction all around. She should never have been put in that position in the first place. She should not be a police officer. Obviously. All right, this cannot be your police, right? You've got now a population in the UK which is not assimilating, does not consider itself British, does not care about British values, does not care about punching women in the face. If they feel like that's something they need to do, they're more than happy to do it and are not going to feel bad about it, right? There's really nothing British about it, right? Absolutely nothing. And then they put her on the front lines. How does any of this make sense? This makes absolutely no sense. This is the crowning woke dysfunction, because you've got it in two dimensions here. This is not what you want to happen to your country. It's just lunacy, total lunacy. And they're going to just have to wake up at some point if they're going to keep their country. All right. Before we get to a certain person who definitely did not kill himself, let's go back to the chat for a minute. Let's put on a different cooking show. Hold on. This is a good one here. Quite like this one. I like red pepper and asparagus. Let's see. Let's see. JDL, good to see ya. All right. 8th like for JDL over on Rumble. Hit that like button, people. Hit that like button. Everybody's doing it. JDL just said to do it, and I would do it if I were you. If JDL says it, that's good enough for me. Hit that like button. Get your free good karma. You don't want something terrible to happen, do you? Get the good karma now. Let's see. Nevada says, I don't think women should be cops. Obviously not. We've all seen the videos where there's like 4 of them trying to, unsuccessfully trying to restrain one angry man. It's just, it's dangerous and it's cruel, right? And it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going to happen. Nevada says, or infantry. Absolutely not in infantry. Not on the front lines. That's insane. It just, for the safety of the other soldiers, for the male soldiers, right? Like, you don't send women into combat unless you're absolutely desperate, right? There were stories of, women manning anti-aircraft batteries in Stalingrad. I mean, it doesn't happen unless you're absolutely desperate. All right. What's going on here? Hold on a second. What the heck is going on here? What is going on here? Let's check this out. This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. You hear that, people? This is important. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. Hey, that's me. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. They did. Facebook, some people call it commie book or a woke book, admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris dirty, filthy communist administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. Also, Brazil doesn't like them much. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. France, shame on you, France. I call them a bunch of cheese commies. Corporate America is fighting to remove free speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. They're too afraid of dirty, filthy commies. That's the problem. Watching this show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight, and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. I did it, and let me tell you right now, it was the happiest day of my life. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. I'm so glad they used the word human right in there. It's a human right. It's the most important right that there is. Without it, you got nothing. Rumble is offering you $10 off. So there you go right there. They're offering you $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium. I'll repeat that. Rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. You got to remember that code. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us here on Rumble. Though, I mean, you're not some sort of commie, though, or something, right? There we go. That felt good. That was good times. All right. Let's see. JDL says, I'm draft age in Ukraine. Well, isn't draft age in Ukraine like 24 to like 80? I saw somewhere the average, it's probably worse. They're thinking about now the West, these Western countries, the NATO countries are encouraging them to now draft the 18 to 24-year-olds, which is crazy because they have they already had a demographic collapse before, as bad as anywhere else, before the war. And if they send them into the meat grinder, it's just over. There's just no Ukraine. It'll be new Syria or something, in 20 years. It's totally crazy. But yeah, I believe the average age on the front is something like 40. It's over 40. They're just grabbing people off the street, like grabbing men off the street, 50, 60 years old, and sending them to the front. It's pretty awful. All right. So there's that. Was there anything else in here that I wanted to talk about? Let's see. I don't think so. All right, let's move on. So let's get to the really controversial stuff here. Before we start in with anything, I want to take a look at what Victor Davis Hanson has to say, because Victor Davis Hanson has a way of boiling down any controversial topic down into just basic sense, basic common sense, and into a rational explanation of what's happening. So let's take a look at what he says. He's talking to Glenn Beck here.
What do you think this is really about?
I think it's pretty clear now that Epstein had no talent other than blackmail, and he was not a financier. He was not a captain of finance at all. What he did is he invited very powerful people to his island or his New York home, filmed them, and then he bribed them, and he shook them down and said, I'm going to be your quote unquote financial advisor, and in exchange for that, I'm not going to release all that stuff. And whether, there were some pretty big people. So why isn't it being exposed? Because I think there are people in the establishment. I don't know if they partook in his sick things he was doing, but they feel they have some association with him, and they have they gave him money to invest when there was no reason to hire someone like that. There were much better financial gurus, but he got $500 million somehow from people who were mainstream establishmentarians on the basis that he was going to blackmail them. I think that's how he made his money. And I think those names are numerous. And I think the Trump administration thought, well, we're going to release this, and there's some crazy people that we don't care about are going to be embarrassed. And then all of a sudden, they got a lot of calls and said, why are you doing this? I didn't do this. I went down to the island once. I was on a plane. I didn't touch anybody. And they're saying, and now you're going to release my name and I'll be guilty by, I'm not going to. And I think that's what's happening. There's a lot of people who were very powerful that were giving him money or were trafficking with him. Not necessarily all of them engaging in what he was doing, but just the association with him. And I think they're putting pressure on people. I really do.
So that all just sounds extremely plausible to me. I thought that we would take a look because, Victor Davis Hanson there is echoing something we've heard before. I've heard it from, Eric Weinstein had a conversation with him once and started asking him about finance and came to the conclusion that Jeffrey Epstein had no idea what he was talking about and that he was probably some sort of working with intelligence in some way or something. He'd been placed in his position. So I thought we would go through his history a little bit. Epstein began his professional career as a teacher at the Dalton School, despite lacking a college degree. After his dismissal from the school in 1976, he entered the banking and finance sector, working at Bear Stearns, which collapsed in the 2008 financial crisis, working at Bear Stearns in various roles before starting his own firm. Epstein cultivated an elite social circle and procured many women and children whom he and his associates abused. So this is Wikipedia, right? Which you always have to take with a grain of salt. But I find with the basic stuff, they tend to get like the basic facts generally right. And I think this is all pretty well accepted, everything that's in here. So he started out as a teacher and was dismissed and then ended up becoming this, genius financier, this guy, $500 million. It seems a bit odd. At age 21, Epstein started working in September 1974 as a physics and mathematics teacher. So he's a smart guy for teens at the Dalton School on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So that's the beginning of his career. A very humble start, wouldn't you say? Epstein allegedly showed inappropriate behavior towards underage female students at the time, paying them constant attention and even showing up at a party where young people were drinking, according to a former student. Other former students also saw him flirting with female students. Eventually, Epstein became acquainted with Alan Greenberg, the chief executive officer of Bear Stearns, whose son and daughter were attending the school. Greenberg's daughter, Lynn Koppel, pointed to a parent-teacher conference where Epstein influenced another Dalton parent into advocating for him to Greenberg. In June 1976, after Epstein was dismissed from Dalton for poor performance, Greenberg offered him a job at Bear Stearns. So a guy with no financial experience, it seems a bit strange, doesn't it? So obviously, they formed some sort of acquaintance, as it says here, became friends, and Greenberg hired him at Bear Stearns, even though he had no experience with this. So perhaps there was some shared interest, let's just say. Epstein joined Bear Stearns in 1976 as a low-level junior assistant to a floor trader. He swiftly moved up to become an options trader working in the special products division and then advised the bank's wealthiest clients, such as Seagram president Edgar Bronfman on tax mitigation strategies. Jimmy Kane, the bank's later chief executive officer, praised Epstein's skill with wealthy clients and complex products. In 1980, 4 years after joining Bear Stearns, Epstein became a limited partner. Epstein became a limited partner. In 1981, Epstein was asked to leave Bear Stearns for, according to his sworn testimony, being guilty of a Reg D violation. What is that? Regulation D? Any offer to sell securities must either be registered with the United States Security and Exchange Commission or meet certain qualifications to exempt them from such registration. So here's a history of here. He gets a job as a teacher without having qualifications. He gets a job at Bear Stearns and moves up very quickly with no experience. And then he is then he's asked to leave for this violation. Again, you're seeing kind of a weird pattern here, right? In August 1981, Epstein founded his own consulting firm, Intercontinental Assets Group, Inc., which assisted clients recovering stolen money from fraudulent brokers and lawyers. Epstein described his work at this time as being a high-level bounty hunter. He told friends that he worked sometimes as a consultant for governments. All right? You can see the jigsaw puzzles coming into place. The fact that he would describe himself as a high-level bounty hunter tells you something about his ego and the way that he saw his work. Consultant for governments. All right. Epstein also stated to some people at the time that he was an intelligence asset. Intelligence asset. Big piece of the puzzle falling into place. During the 1980s, Epstein possessed an Austrian passport that had his photo, but with a false name. The passport showed his place of residence as Saudi Arabia. In 2017, a former senior White House official reported that Alexander Acosta, the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida, who had handled Epstein's criminal case in 2008, had stated to interviewers of President Donald Trump's first transition team, quote, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone, that Epstein was above his pay grade." Above his pay grade. So, I don't know, it all seems fairly obvious, right? During this period, one of Epstein's clients was the Saudi Arabian businessman Adnan Khashoggi, who was the middleman in transferring American weapons from Israel to Iran as part of the Iran-Contra affair. So he was up to his knees in government business and intelligence business, obviously. Hoffenberg and Epstein refashioned themselves as corporate raiders using Towers Financial as their raiding vessel. What happened to this Towers Financial company? It imploded when it was exposed as one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in American history, losing over $450 million of its investors' money. Ponzi scheme, which is the kind of thing that maybe a guy who doesn't actually know that much about finance might do, right? And then have it collapse. He left the company in 1989, was never charged for involvement in the massive investor fraud committed. In 1988, while Epstein was still consulting for Hoffenberg, he founded his financial management firm, J. Epstein & Company. The company was said by Epstein to have been formed to manage the assets of clients with more than US $1 billion in net worth, although others have expressed skepticism that he was restrictive of the clients that he took. But if you want to talk about blackmail, about instant access to being able to blackmail people, right? Well, here you go. Manage the assets of clients, very wealthy clients. Work with them directly, invite them out for dinner, maybe invite them to an island or something like that, and boom. By the time that the Bear Stearns Fund began to fail in May 2007, Epstein had begun to negotiate a plea deal with the U.S. Attorney's Office concerning imminent charges for sex with minors. In August 2007, a month after the fund collapsed, the U.S. Attorney in Miami, Alexander Acosta, entered into direct discussions about the plea agreement. Acosta brokered a lenient deal, according to him, because he had been ordered by higher government officials who told him that Epstein was an individual of importance to the government. So just going through the history here and just the basic facts, right? Like, it really does become clear what was happening here. There was blackmail and there was government involvement. He was important to the government. Now, Epstein installed concealed cameras in numerous places on his properties to allegedly record sexual activity with underage girls or prominent people for criminal purposes, such as blackmail. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's long-term girlfriend and companion, told a friend that Epstein's private island in the Virgin Islands was completely wired for video, and the friend believed that Maxwell and Epstein were videotaping everyone on the island as an insurance policy. When police raided his Palm Beach residence in 2006, 2 hidden cameras were discovered in his home. It was reported that Epstein's mansion in New York was wired extensively with a video surveillance system. So, what you ended up with Epstein was, 2 parts of the government colliding, right? So you had, I think, obviously the intelligence services, right, being undermined by, DAs, essentially. Maria Farmer, an artist who worked for Epstein in 1996, noted that Epstein showed her a media room. Listen to this. All right, this is crazy. Maria Farmer, an artist who worked for Epstein in 1996, noted that Epstein showed her a media room in the New York mansion where there were individuals monitoring the pinhole cameras throughout the house. The media room was accessed through a hidden door. She stated that in the media room, quote, "there were men sitting here, and I looked on the cameras and I saw toilet, bed, toilet, bed." She added that it was very obvious that they were like monitoring private moments. So how much do you want to bet there was CIA people or contractors or something in that room? I mean, this is just like out of a spy novel, isn't it? Obviously, intelligence figures in there, right? It wasn't just Epstein going in there to perv out, right? There were people in there. There were individuals monitoring the cameras throughout the house. If it was just there to perv out on people using the toilet, say, you wouldn't hire a bunch of people to go in and monitor it all. Epstein allegedly lent girls to powerful people to ingratiate himself with them and also gain possible blackmail information. According to the Department of Justice, he kept compact discs locked in his safe in his New York mansion with handwritten labels that included the description, young, and then name plus name. Epstein implied that he had blackmail material when he told a New York Times reporter in 2018, off the record, that he had dirt on powerful people, including information about their sexual proclivities and recreational drug use. So, I mean, this is all stuff that we've all heard before. I think it's just useful to do a refresher, a little bit of a primer on it all. So let's go back now I want to watch Victor Davis Hanson one more time talking about this. I want to rewatch this now with you.
What do you think this is really about?
I think I think it's pretty clear now that Epstein had no talent other than blackmail, and he was not a financier. He was not a captain of finance at all. What he did is he invited very powerful.
So when you look at his unlikely rise, and what was his way in? His way in was Alan Greenberg, right? Very successful, Bear Stearns. He became friends with him through the school. Was that the first blackmail victim? Because would you typically just hire somebody with no experience? Right? Somebody who had been fired from a job teaching for being creepy? Not sure. Let's continue.
People to his island or his New York home, filmed them, and then he bribed them and he shook them down and said, I'm going to be your quote unquote financial advisor. And in exchange for that, I'm not going to release all that stuff. And whether, there were some pretty big people. So why isn't it being
exposed?
Because I think I think there are people in the establishment. I don't know if they partook in his sick things he was doing, but they feel they have some association with him, and they have they gave him money to invest when there was no reason to hire someone like that. There were much better financial gurus, but he got $500 million somehow from people who were mainstream establishmentarians on the basis that he was going to blackmail them. I think that's how he made his money. And I think those names are numerous. And I think the Trump administration thought, well, we're going to release this, and there's some crazy people that we don't care about are going to be embarrassed. And then all of a sudden, they got a lot of calls and said, why are you doing this? I didn't do this. I went down to the island once. I was on a plane. I didn't touch anybody. And they're saying, and now you're going to release my name and I'll be guilt by, I'm not going to. And I think that's what's happening.
Now, Victor Davis Hanson is fantastic. I love Victor Davis Hanson. I think he's missing here, I think, the fairly obvious government intelligence connections. I mean, there's a reason why, there was government interference in his sentencing in the first Epstein trial, right? So it seems to me it is totally obvious, right? He was working with the government, a government agency in some capacity. And it was enough for him to get off the hook on multiple occasions. Let's hear from Alan Dershowitz here. So Alan Dershowitz says he knows for a fact that the Epstein files are being suppressed to protect powerful people. Now, he has called in the past for everything Epstein related to be released because he was falsely accused. He was falsely accused by a woman who later retracted the claims about him. What was happening at that same time with Alan Dershowitz? What was happening? Well, he was saying that, Alan Dershowitz defended Donald Trump in the impeachment over the quid pro quo with Ukraine. So what happened to Alan Dershowitz when he did that? So he was blacklisted off all of the places he used to go. CNN, MSNBC, New York Times wasn't interested in talking to him anymore. He lost most of his friends, right? He lost most of his appearances, everything, right? He became a persona non grata on the left and this is a man who voted for Joe Biden, right? But as a constitutional scholar and lawyer, he stood by principle, and he said, no, Trump didn't do anything wrong, and he defended him, and he paid a heavy price for that. And then out came these accusations against him, which seems fairly predictable, does it not? At which point he said, I want everything released. And later the accusation against him was retracted, and there was an admittance of not being truthful. So let's take a look here.
So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed, and they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them, but I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them, and that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed. And they shouldn't be suppressed. If the accusation is allowed out, so should the material that diminishes the credibility of the accuser. We want total transparency on this. Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights of privacy. Anything there is about me, I'm happy because it will be exculpatory, because I know I haven't touched a woman other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even hug people, but I was falsely accused and I was able to prove it. And I was able to prove it through documents. And I want other people to be able to disprove false accusations through documents. But these documents are being suppressed and withheld.
So, obviously, blackmail, the blackmail part, just obvious. That's just obvious at this point, right? And it also seems obvious that there was government involvement. There was intelligence involved in this, right? Those were the guys in the secret media room at Epstein's New York mansion, right? Let's see.
So
I have something else here, I believe. Okay, let's listen to this from Bill O'Reilly.
I talked to President Trump man to man, eye to eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context. So you can't do that. You can't destroy human beings by putting out the files, whatever they may be. I talked to President Trump, man.
So it could just simply be that Jeffrey Epstein used blackmail to advance his career, and that's how his career started right at the very beginning. It seems fairly obvious that there was some intelligence agency involved. But even without that, Trump saying, according to Bill O'Reilly here, that a bunch of innocent people's lives will be ruined. Okay, but if there's an intelligence agency involved as well, that is who is using the blackmail material to extort behavior out of powerful elite people. Well, that looks really bad, right? That looks really bad. Also, you can no longer continue to blackmail them. So there's an enormous amount of value, they would say, lost in that. I'm kind of leaning towards that. Let's see. Okay. Oregon Conservative posted this, and I've said before, when Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were talking about this, it kind of felt like a hostage. It looked like a hostage situation. They did not seem normal.
And that's what that was. He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file.
You said
he looked sweatier there than normal, didn't he? He looked a little bit sweatier there. Now, we're still going to get to the rumors that he is going to resign, which are still rumors, as as of the beginning of this stream. Okay, let's get to that right now. So from Laura Loomer, Scoop, FBI Director Cash and Dan Bongino are livid with Attorney General Pam Bondi over her DOJ memo and the lack of transparency from her office regarding to the Jeffrey Epstein files. Well, saying the files are on my desk and then later saying, well, no, I was just talking about just generally files. Could have been files about anything. Not great. Source tells me Dan Bongino is taking the day off today from his job as deputy director of the FBI. Source tells me that Dan Bongino is taking the day off today from his job as deputy director of the FBI. And there's now speculation on whether or not he will return to his job at the FBI over his disgust with Bondi's lack of transparency and handling of the Epstein files. Pam, she's calling her Pam Blondie. Pam Bondi has brought total embarrassment to President Trump, J.D. Vance, Dan Bongino, and Kash Patel. She has also lied to the American people. I'm told Kash and Bongino are furious with Bondi and the blowback she has caused them with her lack of transparency. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino should call for Bondi's public resignation today to save themselves and also to push for full transparency into the Epstein files. This is an issue the American people care deeply about. Someone needs to be fired for this. Giving Bondi courtesy to resign is more than she deserves. Trump should just fire her. Now, this goes on the assumption that she's not working on orders from Trump personally. And what's his name? Hold on. And if what Bill O'Reilly is saying is true, then that sounds likely that she is working on orders from President Trump, who is saying that he doesn't want to destroy a bunch of innocent people's lives. But there can be other motivations on top of that, which we've already discussed. So now let me see if there's any updates I didn't get to before the stream starts that you guys saw. Let me just go through the chat really quick here. Looks like you guys don't know anything more than I do. Okay. All right. So my conclusions are that here's what I think is plausible. So Jeffrey Epstein, through this school that he had to resign from ignominiously, Jeffrey Epstein, through this school that he had to resign from, met a powerful a powerful financier in Alan Greenberg, chief executive officer of Bear Stearns. They became friends. They might have had a similar interest in young women or young girls. And this may be where the blackmail began, because then he had a very, very unlikely rise through the ranks in the financial world. I would say it would be very, very rare for somebody with no experience to rise as high as he did in just a few short years. Then he was identified as being valuable to an intelligence agency, recruited into that, began doing a lot of work for the government, and collecting blackmail material for the government. He had this media room in his New York mansion with a bunch of men in it watching the screens. Again, that doesn't sound like, I just don't believe that if he just wanted to perv out on women in the bathroom or in bedrooms or people in those places, that he'd hire people to monitor all the cameras in a secret room with a hidden door. No, that sounds like that's right out of a spy movie, is it not? His own personal proclivities ended up undermining him and getting him in trouble at lower levels of law enforcement with an intelligence agency, with the government having to basically bail him out, not just of abuse charges, but also financial crimes as well. And it ended up getting out of the intelligence services grasp and control. And then eventually he just had to be removed. And now there is all of this information, all of these tapes, and the judgment is that, and I'm saying Trump now. I'm saying Trump, and I'm a Trump supporter, but at Trump, he has come to the conclusion that it would cause too much damage, too much chaos to release it. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying this is my read on what is plausible. And that may not be true. And I could have some things wrong, but clearly there was blackmail involved, and clearly he was working with the government. I think that's these are just known facts. These are just demonstrably true at this point. So let's end this off listening to Tom McDonald here, who is a rapper, but he's involved in politics. He has a lot of thoughts on politics, and he's pretty good. Let's take a look.
Hey, did you guys hear the Epstein list doesn't exist? Look, I don't care who the president is. I don't care how good his administration is for America. They're fucking lying to us. Look, if that list wasn't going to put dozens of billionaires, hundreds of politicians, members of the royal family, powerful Democrats, powerful Republicans, and half of Hollywood in prison, that list would definitely exist. When they say the list doesn't exist, it's kind of true, but it's only part true. The whole truth is the list doesn't exist anymore. And that's because they deleted it. There you have it. Diddy's about to be a free man. None of the Epstein clients are ever going to see consequences from their actions. And regular people like you and me are going to continue getting locked up for pirating Disney movies and illegally housing squirrels in our apartments. Seems like the system's working perfect. Have a good one. Hey.
So I think this is really good because it gets to the heart of the outrage, right? It's not because everybody hates rich people or something, or people in elite positions, right? It's an outrage for the same reason that social justice is an outrage. It's not justice, right? This isn't justice. This isn't, everybody is equal before the law. This is the elites are protected for whatever reason, even if it's because this would cause a collapse. Maybe a collapse, even if this would cause so much destruction, right? In politics and banking and whatever, right? Still, it's not justice. It's not justice. It's not everybody gets treated the same way in the eyes of the law. This isn't justice is blind. That's the outrage. This is not just some bloodlust, it's some just inherent desire for conspiracy and to be angry at shadowy figures. No. We know there's a problem here. We know there are crimes committed, and it is either everybody is equal in the eyes of the law or they're not. Right? It's the same reason that we all hate social justice, because it ain't justice. All right. Let's close out that segment. That would have been a good one for the premium only streams, actually. All right. Randall, how you doing? Good to see you. He says, let's pin it all on Kevin Spacey and call it a day. I'm in. I'm in. Let's do it. Let's see. All right, let's get to the chat here. I know you guys are going to have some thoughts on this. Let's see. What do we got going on? Let's see. Oh, there's lots. Let's see. All right. I think I'm back where we started. 20 minutes till pizza time. So that should be ready now. I think we've gone back 20 minutes in the chat. Root beer is already nice and cold. Root beer is nice. JDL says Epstein has good politician hair. Well, that's true. Let's see. Rogue Thought, good to see ya. I think it's been a while. Let's see. Rogue Thought says, wasn't the headmaster at Dalton Donald Barr Bill Barr's father? That's interesting. Let's do a fact check.
Fact check.
I'm just going to grok this one. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay. Hold on. All right. Actually, hold on. Well, okay. Why wouldn't it let me? All right. Here we go. Was the headmaster at Dalton School where Jeffrey Epstein worked as a teacher, Bill Barr's father? Okay, let's see what it says. All right, let's check it out. Yes, you guys are geniuses. This is why I have you guys on my show. Yes, the headmaster of the Dalton School where Jeffrey Epstein worked as a teacher from 1974 to 1976 was Donald Barr, who was the father of former U.S. Attorney General William Barr. Wow. It's unclear whether Barr directly hired Epstein, but it's really just an acquaintance, a connection that you're looking for there, right? Because, government, connections to government. Wow. Okay. You're hired. This is why I have you guys on. It's for these moments. All right. Nice work there, Rogue. Mickey, how you doing? Good to see ya. Let's see. Nevada says, Rogue, I heard Bill Barr's dad was one of the founders of the CIA. I guess we're doing another fact check.
Fact check.
Okay. Again, this is why I have you guys on. Was Bill Barr's father one of the founders of the CIA? Well, when was the CIA founded? It was founded to replace the OAS, something like that. Not one of the founders of the CIA. No. Okay. Served in the Office of Strategic OSS. That's what I was thinking of. OSS during World War II, which was the precursor to the CIA. This is what I'm saying. So obviously with connections, they changed the name, but a lot of the people would have stayed the same. You would have still had connections in it. Bravo. That's it. Rogue, Nevada, bravo. Bravo. That's why you're here. That's why I let you on my show. JDL says, Rogue, I'm not suspicious. You are. Nevada says, Andy wrote a book about aliens. I'll just take your word on that one. I bet you that's interesting, though. And I can't, oh, God, I'm not reading that. Let's see. Rosie was on time, but fading in and out. Not sure how long we'll be up. Well, you know what? If you have to go to sleep, everybody has to sleep, Rosie. It's okay. Let's see. So apparently the book was pretty sick, you guys are saying. Let's see. It was called Space Relations. I don't think I'm going to read it. It sounds like a disturbing book. Mickey imbibed a little too much with the neighbors today. Be careful. Be careful. Let's see. Let's see. Nevada says the truth is coming out. Rosie says Lent girls. He owned girls. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's very disturbing. And Nevada said lots of coke heads in DC too. Oh yeah. I think it's like notorious for that, isn't it? Rosie says, oh, a good refresher primer on pedo blackmail. Ugh, disgusting. Yeah, there's horrible things that go on behind the scenes. JDL says, Madison Cawthorn, remember what he said? Yeah, he was talking about crazy parties in DC with like, I don't know, it wasn't like hookers and coke and all kinds of naked things. All right, I'm going to skip down a little bit because we're an hour and 40 in, so we should probably get moving on this. Let's see. Izzy says spy horror movie. It's like a spy horror movie, exactly. Ottawa James, how you doing? Let's see. Rosie says, very well put, locked up for squirrel pets. Well, they murdered the squirrel. Peanut and Fred. It was a squirrel and a raccoon, wasn't it? Let's see. Rosie says, everybody is equal before the law. Once the law is brought in, then we have a case system. Well, that's injustice. That's what social justice is a case system based on identity. So I would call it injustice. But this is like that, right? So it's a perversion of justice. I think perversion's a great word for it. Let's see. All right. Izzy says, now I want to know if Bill Barr's father was on the island. Well, I don't think that data has come out yet. Rosie says, interesting fact, actor Tony Randall was in the Signal Intelligence Service in World War II. So was my grandfather on my mother's side. He was in North Africa. And actually, he had to be evacuated from France, but not at Normandy. He had to go to the other side of France. And he was supposed to be on a boat called the Lancaster, on a ship called the Lancaster, but he didn't make it in time, and that ship sank in harbor. So he barely, that it saved his life that he didn't make it in time, and he ended up being evacuated and then ended up in North Africa with signals, and then also he went into like the Netherlands as well. And yeah. So interesting Radio Baloney facts there too. It was called Operation Ariel, was the evacuation after Dunkirk. After Dunkirk, Operation Ariel, because there was still like tens of thousands of British troops in France that didn't make it out at Dunkirk. So interesting. And there's books about it you can read. Let's see. Nevada said, for some reason, my stream started over at the beginning. Weird. JDL says, yes, raccoon. That's right. It was squirrel and a raccoon. Fred the raccoon. Really terrible. Let's see. Where are we next? So we're almost 2 hours in, and I've barely gotten anywhere. God damn it. All right. I'm spending too much time in the chat, but you guys are good. That's the problem. You guys are good. That's the problem. All right. It's the kind of problem you want to have. Let's see. So let's get on to this. From the Vigilant Fox, Senator John Kennedy says James Comey. Senator John Kennedy says James Comey and John Brennan broke the law. They should be held accountable for the Russia collusion hoax. Let's take a look here. So I think it's important that they actually do prosecute over this, because this was an attempt at a coup. This was the real insurrection, right? This was a conspiracy, an actual conspiracy. They do actually happen. Let's take a look.
Well, I know Mr. Comey and I know Mr. Brennan. Neither one of them, in my opinion, should attempt more than 6 of the 10 commandments. They're not very nice people. They're not ethical people. I know people who have worked with them closely. And if you talk to people who've worked with them closely, those people will tell you that they're about as popular as male pattern baldness. What's scary about both of them is that they think that they're competent. They're not. I would hire the guy who salts the fries at McDonald's before I would hire either one of them. But they think they're competent. They think they're smarter and more virtuous than the rest of us, and they acted on their political beliefs. Brennan, for example, Mr. Brennan was one of the ones who told the American people that the Hunter Biden laptop wasn't real, that it was Russian disinformation. They're just not honest people. And if they broke the law, they should be held accountable. They're also just, they're like so many in Washington, Harris. They're so arrogant. Lyndon Johnson used to have an expression. He'd say, that guy's so arrogant, he could strut sitting down. Well, that's the way Mr. Comey and Mr. Brennan are. Those two have done more to destroy the American people's confidence in the FBI and national intelligence than any two people I can think of.
Well, it's known, it's documented that they both lied under oath, whether in front of Congress or the Senate, but they both are documented as having lied. Nothing happened to them. And talking about arrogance, I mean, Comey bragging about setting up, I believe it was Flynn, going to the White House to just set up Flynn with malevolent intent. Talk about arrogance, right? Taking, like with Brennan, taking high-paying job on like MSNBC to just lie. It's really incredible. But
well, I know Mr. Comey.
There really does need to be charges filed. I mean, these are people that their actions, for one, very well were instrumental in Russia invading Ukraine, because they had so poisoned the well with Russia that really any kind of rational negotiation or bridge building was impossible. It was impossible because, with the collusion between people like them and the media and Democrat politicians, they made it impossible. I think when Trump says, if he'd been president, that invasion never would have happened, I believe him when he says that. I think there's good reason to believe that. But people like this, their actions, I think, were instrumental in making it inevitable that it happened. Okay, hold on. Let me okay. So what have we here? The FBI has found new info on the Russia collusion hoax, and it's pointing directly at John Brennan. It's from Chicago One Ray. Okay, let's take a look at this.
Get your take first on the Russia collusion part of that interview. What struck you?
I was fascinated. There's nobody better than Cash and Dan, or I should say Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino. Those two guys know more about the Russia hoax than anyone else that's out there. And I'm going to be fascinated to see what this new information is that they found buried somewhere within that Hoover building, because I do think that transparency is key. And, now that we have, Ed Martin, who was supposed to be the U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C., now the president has appointed him to go after this. So I think both Cash and Dan were pretty clear. They're going to follow the facts. They're going to provide transparency. And then ultimately, it's up to the Department of Justice to hold these dirty cops responsible for what they've drugged this country through for the last almost decade now.
Well, you've called Jim Comey like a figurehead, but talked about others who are really driving this lie. Let me ask you this. Who do you believe was the mastermind behind the Russia collusion lie?
Well, there's a lot of masterminds, but I think in general, this was lit on fire by Obama, Team Obama and his team after Trump won in 2016. So they could have stopped it. They should have stopped it. Instead, they lit the fuse. They put out a BS intelligence report, if you recall, right before the president came in. They framed General Flynn. They framed the entire Trump administration. And then they appointed Mueller. So once Trump fired Comey, Mueller gets appointed. And then we lived through that Mueller witch hunt for years. And I think, me personally, I think if you're going to find criminality, it's going to be with Mueller and his witch hunters that were there for so many years. I think that's where you're going to find the corruption. So it wasn't just I said this many times, Maria, and I think it was lost on people. It wasn't just about all the corruption that they did to create and manufacture the Russia hoax. The Mueller investigation itself was a hoax and was illegal. When Mueller walked into that door, how many times did I say it? He said, "Where are the Russians?" "Oh, sir, there are none." Why didn't Mueller leave? Why did all those people work for years? Why did they hide the information from Congress for so many years?
Well, let's not forget that stole, 22 months of Trump's first presidency, basically stole it while he was dealing with that.
Get your take first on.
Here's Rudy Giuliani. Let's hear what he has to say about it. Let's take a quick look.
Well, first of all, I am relieved to see it because I know there's a tremendous pushback that if you do this, it looks like you're politicizing, whatever. It's already been politicized, and we need to do this to depoliticize it. You can't let something like this go without accountability. Otherwise, it'll become part of the regular process of this crooked party called the Democrats. So this was high, although it isn't technically described as high treason. That's what they were doing. And the culmination of their conspiracy was to try to take out a sitting president based upon not only a false story, but a story that was paid for with illegal campaign money that they all knew about. Now, you can't commit a much worse crime other than murder than doing that. Now, there are components of it and there are parts of it you can't prove, but perjury is a slam dunk. Comey should have been prosecuted for it 4 years ago, right on the applications for those very, very sensitive warrants that are supposed to be, very, very carefully done. He lied 4 times on it, provably. He lied about his conversations with the president. He lied about his analysis or failure to analyze the report. Not only that, he said he validated it, and he did nothing to validate it. The report says that Michael Cohen was in Prague a certain period of time working with the Russians. Michael Cohen was at his son's baseball tryout for that 4-day period. His passport indicated he never went to Prague ever in his life. That means the director of the FBI never even bothered to corroborate that part of it, which meant he was completely negligent about the truth. All of that has been used to convict thousands of people of perjury. James Cardinal Comey is the only one to get away with it.
And the Steele dossier, commissioned by Hillary Clinton, paid for by Hillary Clinton. And you want to talk about Russian misinformation. Boy, oh boy, right there. I mean, all this stuff has to be gotten to the bottom of. And I think with this, regardless of what's going on with Epstein and all of that, with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and all that, I have to feel like this would be one that Trump is going to be more sympathetic to. Let's just say. I have to believe that. And also, they've got to produce something because there's been nothing so far. And so I feel like, and also too, I mean, just for the sake of actually protecting democracy, You can't allow cabals. You can't allow what are essentially criminal cabals to operate and undermine your country and your government and presidents. That just cannot be allowed. So, but we shall see. Let's move on to the next thing here. Matt Taibbi wrote a piece about this in Racket. I think that we're not going to get to that because it's a big, long piece. But let's listen to this from Kash Patel. So he's on Joe Rogan here, and he revealed this hidden room of documents. Let's take a look.
Just think about this. Me, as the director of the FBI, the former Russiagate guy, when I first got to the Bureau, found a room that Comey and others hid from the world in the Hoover building, full of documents and computer hard drives that no one had ever seen or heard of. Locked the key and hid access and just said, no one's ever going to find this place.
What?
Yeah. So my guys are going through that right now.
What's in there?
A lot of stuff. I mean, that's the thing. People are like, well, okay, go arrest him. And I'm like, okay, well, how about you let me run a methodical investigation while I give over information? One of the things we gave over before this, the room deal was, I don't know if you remember who Nellie Orr is. It doesn't really matter. Nellie Orr's husband, Bruce Orr, was like the number 4 at the Department of Justice. And he was the one who introduced the world of Christopher Steele, the guy that started Russiagate. Well, the entire time her husband was doing that at DOJ, Nellie Orr, was working on an outside contract to dig up dirt on Donald Trump. So she goes to the Hill and testifies as a result of our investigation, right, under oath. She said, I never worked, and I'm paraphrasing, I never worked with my husband on any of that. I would never do that. Well, what did Grassley put out just yesterday, 2 days ago? The Nellie Orr documentation that the FBI hid to the world that we gave them, where Nellie Orr is caught red-handed providing information to her husband, thumb drives related to Trump-Russia collusion, directly proving that Nellie Orr lied to Congress. Felony. Can't prosecute her. Statute of limitations is gone. That's just one example.
Wow. What a dirty business.
Yeah, I'm afraid Kash is going to have to deliver, right? It's going to have to deliver eventually. I feel like Trump will be more sympathetic to this one, regardless of anything else. But yeah, he's going to have to deliver, right? I mean, it's a mess. It's way bigger than Watergate. It's 100 times bigger than Watergate. All right. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, we don't need to go. Oh, hold on. What was this one? I was surprised from FOIA fan. I was surprised to see these Clapper Comey emails in the FBI's latest Mueller investigation FOIA drop. Bastards, he says. Let's take a look. Let's see. Jim, we caucus this afternoon. And when is this from? What's the date? January 11th, 2017. Okay. We caucused this afternoon and decided I should try to call the president-elect. I spoke to him for about 20 minutes late this afternoon. My objective was to try and get him to stop bad-mouthing the IC, i.e. that we were the source of the leaked documents. It was very cordial, as it was in New York. He asked if I would put out a statement. He would prefer, of course, that I say the documents are bogus, which, of course, I can't do. I apologize for not running this by you. I'm sending it this way since I can't pull up your address on the low side. This is to Stephanie L. O'Sullivan, DNI, Department of National Intelligence. Yeah, DNI. I'm sending it this way since I can't pull up your address on the low side. Here it is. Quote, this evening I had the opportunity to speak with the President-elect Trump to discuss recent media reports about our briefing last Friday. I expressed my profound dismay at the leaks that have been appearing in the press, and we both agreed they are corrosive and damaging to our national security. Thanks. He called me 5 yesterday and we had a very similar conversation. So, I mean, this is actually the first time I'm looking at this. And so I'm not sure I can parse out. What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think is the relevance of this? Tell me in the chat. First, I'm going to go back and take a look. Randall Kippen, the statute of limitations for lying to Congress charges 5 years. So hasn't the time expired? Let's do a fact check.
Fact check.
What is the statute of limitations on lying to the U.S. Congress? I find for this kind of stuff that Grok is pretty good. Let's see. The statute of limitations for lying to the U.S. Congress, typically prosecuted as perjury, blah, 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 false statements, is 5 years from the date the offense was committed. Huh, that's interesting, isn't it? 5-year statute of limitations. Very interesting. Okay. All right. Let's see. So I don't know. I don't know what this is. We cocked 7 minutes. I try to call president-elect. So I don't know. I'm going to hold back judgment on that because I just haven't had a chance to parse it out. So I don't know. I don't want to say anything too dumb. All right. So I think we can move past this now. We'll do a little bit more chat. Let's change up the cooking one here. Let's have a nice espresso. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Let's see. I'll go back a little bit further. Let's see. Spambot says, I guess Richie missed my note about Trudeau earlier. What was that? Let me go back, see if I can find it. Spambot. I'm not finding it. You'll have to remind me. Okay. There's too much chat tonight. I got to skip past some of it. Let's see. Yeah, put put it back in there, Spambot, and then I'll take a look at it. Nevada says, Spam, are you talking about Trugina? They say that he's a man, but he's half a Trugina. It's a terrible thing. It's not nice. Not nice. Let's see. Nevada says, well, can't believe that stupid woman didn't interrupt Kennedy at least 14 times. Shut your potentialist. She does like to interrupt, doesn't she, that woman? Rogue Thought says, wasn't Comey's daughter the prosecutor in the Epstein trial, the Maxwell trial, and the Diddy trial? You wonder why none of the high-profile info was revealed. It just looks really incestuous, doesn't it? Let's see. Let's see. JJ Nevada, most women on Fox sound awful. You know, it reminds me, actually, this was when I was in Barcelona like 20 years ago, back when I was a libtard. Back when I was a full-on libtard. I remember lying in the hotel room, and the only English channel on was actually Fox News International. And I was amazed. I was watching it, and it just all of these beautiful, dewy-lipped, perfectly done, gorgeous women on it, on Fox News International. And I started thinking to myself, maybe I should go conservative. Because these news ladies are hot. Let's see. Rogue Thought says transparency has a black eye. It's such a shame because, it overshadows like kind of amazing things. Like in May, I don't know what it was last month, but in May, they released nobody illegal border crossers into the country. Just none, right? Like that's an amazing. They shut down the border. I mean, that is crucial to national security. That was really the biggest issue out of every issue. In fact, it dwarfs every other issue. And he's done it. He didn't need a bipartisan bill. He just shut it down. And now he's in the process of deporting. It's not happening fast enough. I think it's very difficult, especially when you've got these rogue judges everywhere behaving as if they're the president themselves and constantly shutting him down. But I think it's difficult. It's very expensive. They've increased the budget from, $7 billion to $70 billion. But that's really the most important thing. I think if you look at most Western countries, I think if you look at, Canada, if you look at European countries, if you look at the UK, the biggest issue is immigration. That is the biggest issue. That is the wellspring from which all of the poison springs. Like that is the root cause of inflation in housing shortages, rising crime, a breakdown of societal trust, right? It's a breakdown of healthcare, healthcare systems being overwhelmed, the justice system being overwhelmed. It really is the biggest issue. Everything bad kind of comes, every degradation in the quality of life springs from that. That's the root cause of it. Because it's just numbers, right? It's just supply and demand is what it comes down to, as well as the cultural issues. And it's really a shame that that's getting overwhelmed. Just that one thing. Of course, there's other things that are going on as well. And the American economy is roaring, and the employment numbers look great, and not just great generally for American citizens. The numbers look great. So it's a shame it's all being, overshadowed by these other issues, which are important. But it's unfortunate. Let's see. Nevada says, if I did what Brennan and Comey did, they would give me 12 life sentences after 3 executions. Well, they put Bannon in prison for contempt of Congress. They put Flynn in prison, right? And with Bannon, I mean, it wasn't even, he didn't lie. It's just that there was an issue with privilege. There's a privilege issue, right? He never should have gone to prison. Ventilator, how you doing? Ventilator says, Mark Elias started the Russiagate dossier. There needs to be, I mean, there was, 22 months of Russiagate hoax with Mueller, the Mueller investigation. They need something like that for the people who committed the fraud. And it was fraud. Right. They need to haul, Steele in for the, to answer for the Steele dossier. They need to haul in Hillary Clinton for commissioning the thing, for paying for the thing. There needs to be a 2-year long investigation and then trials. Randall Kippen says the statute of limitations. Okay, 5 years. Okay, we already did that one. Rogue Thought says a 72-year-old grandma attending a protest on January 6th will do more time than these corrupt bastards destroying our country. Maybe not. Maybe they'll actually go after them. I mean, why not? I mean, look, the Democrats used their power. You know, when Biden was in, the cabal that was controlling him used all of their power and more, right, to try and destroy Trump and anybody who'd ever met Trump. Apparently, they charged his lawyers, for God's sakes. So, maybe it's time to fight fire with fire, because they're not going to stop. Let's see. Maria Bartiromo. That's her name. Let's see. All right. I'm going to skip to the end again, and then we'll keep moving, because we're almost at the glitch. Glitch is going to happen anytime. Let's see. Let's see. Spambot Fodder says, pro tip, Richie, use the browser, find in page to scroll faster. I'm going to say, okay, quote, verified sub-supporter. So Epstein and Trudeau used the same playbook, get kicked out as a creepy teacher, then get into politics and or blackmail. All right, hold on a second. Was there something preceding that? Let me go back a little further. All right. Hold on. Okay, so let me come back to that. Verified sub-supporter plus quote. Okay, so Epstein and Trudeau used the same playbook, get kicked out as a creepy so yeah. Then get into politics and or blackmail. Now, with Trudeau, or some call him Trugina, there was a report in a Buffalo-based news outlet that claimed that he had been doing things to one of the students, and there was the students were involved. I did do a fact check on that. I don't know, a few years ago, I think, at least. I did look into it. That news outlet was not real. It was not a real news outlet. There was actually no evidence of that. Now, I don't doubt that Trudeau was creepy, right? We know that he's creepy. I have no doubt that he was a creepy teacher, right? And it seems totally plausible that he'd be kicked out for being creepy. But there wasn't actually any evidence of him actually doing anything. But yeah, get into politics and or blackmail. He chose the politics. Yeah, there seems to be a bad pattern here, doesn't there? Of a short career as a teacher for some reason, and then going on to be totally and utterly corrupt in some other field, either politics or blackmail. Where is he these days, by the way? Where is he? Use the browser, find in page to scroll faster by post. How am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to know how to do that? You just say that as if somehow I know how to do that. For God's sakes. All right. Let's see. Rogue Thought says, I finally noticed that patch on her right arm. What is that actually? What is that? That's kind of strange. I wonder what that is. I don't know. But then Izzy says, she has arms. She has arms. He didn't even notice the arms. Looks like a continuous glucose monitor to me, Rosie says. So maybe too many frappuccinos. She got boosted number 9. But she's not passing out there. So maybe not. Rosie says, maybe it's her on-off switch. All right. All right. I'm going to skip right to the end. Rogue Thought says, I feel sorry for the good people in Canada that are surrounded by lunatics voting for their destruction. Yeah. JDL says, yes, it's not good. JDL says, Trudeau, the next bachelor. Oh, God. No, that would be too gross. I mean, maybe it would be hilarious. I don't know. Spambot Fodder says Drew Gina probably used blackmail to remove competition. He probably did. He probably did. All right. Glitch is coming soon, but let's get to the next thing. All right, we did Russiagate. So now we're on to memes. Here we go. Let's do some memes while we wait for the glitch to happen. So for anybody who's new to the channel, there's a glitch that happens about usually about 2 hours to 2 hours and 20 minutes into the stream, and it'll last for like 2 seconds. Don't run away when it happens. Don't worry, we're going to be back in like 2 seconds, but it will happen at some point. We're just never sure exactly when. It's really just a part of the show now. All right. Just Gen RX. Well, guys, you just dodged a bullet, a massive one at that. So just to be clear, I don't date Trump supporters. Oh, no. I will say her terms are acceptable. Now, this is funny because she is the woman, the influencer that the Democrats hired to help them crack that puzzle, that enigma of why young men aren't supporting the Democratic Party. Why young men are turning conservative. They hired her. They actually spent money to get her to help them figure out this riddle of why young men are moving towards the Republican Party. So, as I said, her terms are acceptable, I'm sure. Let's see. LOL, true story. Okay, random thought. Why does toilet paper need a commercial? Who's not buying it? Well, that's a good point, but there is the issue of softness and absorbance, I guess. So I guess there's that pillowiness and absorbance. So there's that. I guess that's why they have the commercials. I don't know. Let's move on. Let's see. Nobody cares what kind of sex you have. Just stop telling kids about it. It shouldn't even need to be a meme. It's weird that we live in a world where this has to be a meme, right? Like, it's just common sense. It's just sanity. That's just sanity, right? Oh, yeah, don't tell your kids. Yeah, you're a teacher. What did you tell the kids? Oh, you're fired now. That's a normal world. That's a sane world, right? That's a world that's functioning properly. That's not a dysfunctional world. That's not a woke dysfunctional world, right? This shouldn't be necessary. This meme shouldn't be necessary. It shouldn't be necessary to say, stop telling kids about your sexuality, right? You're a kindergarten teacher. They're not interested in that. Nobody wants to know, and it's weird and creepy. It's bizarre that this meme would even be. It's bizarre that this meme makes sense, right? In a sane world, you'd look at this and go, "What? That doesn't even make sense. Nobody would do that? Nobody would do that." Just think about that for a second. Think about that. We should be living in a world where this meme doesn't make sense. In fact, 20 years ago, this meme wouldn't have made sense. 20 years ago, you would have looked at this and gone, that doesn't make any sense. What's that? Nobody does that. Now, it makes sense. And Rogue Thought says, if you tell the kids about it, you should be arrested. I agree. Spambot Fodder said about this lady who's going to help the Democrats recruit all those young men. He says she is undateable by anyone. By anyone. All right. And I think he's right. Spambot Fodder also says, I know for a fact that the current Liberal Party is run by a corrupt cabal. Well, it's all the same people, right? It's all the same people. I mean, it was Trudeau's people that were behind Carney. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree. This is a good time to suggest to anybody who's watching right now who's not subscribed to the channel that you should subscribe to the channel. You can keep getting these fine memes. These fine memes. We do this Friday nights, Sunday nights, Tuesday nights. And then also I do a bunch of other videos too, clip videos and some ones that, breaking news videos and stuff. And you can see all of those. It's a wonderful thing. Become a channel member as well. And also like the stream. Liking the stream is extremely important. Everybody does that. It's just normal now. So let's keep going. Little yapping dickhead suddenly doesn't like loud noises. I'm a dog lover. But this is funny because there are some dogs that just won't shut the fuck up. But then they don't like loud noises. So I guess the last thing you see before being hunted for sport on a private island, it's her. She's still got that Children of the Corn thing going on. It'll never leave her, right? She's going to be perpetually just a child of the corn. And then just one day, she'll look the same for like 70 years, and then just one day she'll turn into an acorn. And that'll be it. Let's see. Liberal woman at the grocery store admiring my Make America Great Again hat. It does seem to have that effect on them, foaming at the mouth, the red eyes, the general kind of weird, enraged, zombie kind of look. They don't handle it well. They're very emotional, very emotional. My reaction to almost there we go. I think we got that one in almost record time. Glitch solved. I don't know when this is. I keep thinking that eventually whatever is causing the glitch will just stop, but it never does. I'm fine with it. I like the glitch now. I look forward to it now, so it can keep happening forever as far as I'm concerned. All right. My reaction to almost everything these days. I fucking told you so. That's good. That's good. I bet she uses those cigarettes to stay slim too. So there's that. What is this? DEI is our strength, starting with the top with my VP. So Kamala Harris is a DEI hire? That's racist. It's documented. I just made a video about it, which nobody watched, of him saying like he's picking a woman on DEI principle. He said the vice president will be a woman. What the heck is going on? This is a beautiful, beautiful moment. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. This is a beautiful, beautiful moment right here for this channel. Let's do this right now. Rogue Thought says, I always catch your stream, but love it. I can't always catch your stream, but love it every time. Thanks for being another voice of sanity from Rogue Thought. Rogue Thought donated $5, and you know what that means. Best person ever. I'm talking all time. Better than every other person who's ever lived. Just try and think of somebody who was a great human in history. Whoever it is, I can assure you, compared to Rogue Thought, they're dog shit. Awful. Just awful. It's Rogue Thought now. One more time. That's it, my friend. You're the tops. Thank you very much. And that's what happens whenever anybody appeals to my greed. And another great way is, and Spambot is the champion at this. I think he has given away something like 60 or 70 memberships to this channel, which is really, really awesome for this channel. So also doing gifting memberships is a really amazing way to help the channel. And it's good for everybody else too, because then they are able to access the premium only content. So we do 5 hours of that a month as well. So, but anyway, thanks, Rogue. That's awesome. Much appreciated. Izzy says, best person ever. It's true. It's true. It happened right here. All right. Let's see. Next one. Stop eating meat and pay more tax. Stop eating meat and pay more taxes to change the weather. Stop eating meat and pay more taxes to change the weather. But it turns out it's not just that she's interested anymore. She also wants global intifada and to destroy capitalism. So, which I suspected all along, quite frankly. Let's see. Socialism works so well that people build boats from trash to escape it. Well, it does make you creative, and it's motivating, right? Socialism is motivating. It motivates you to get the hell away from it so you can have food. This is great. I don't always kill myself, but when I do, I didn't. That's a classic. This is a classic. I don't always kill myself, but when I do, I didn't. That's a classic right there. It really doesn't get, that's top tier memeing right here. Top tier. Let's see. Declaration of memes. This one's funny. All right. I'm going to save the bottom part. I'm not going to scroll up until I read the first part because this is also very, very good. This is a classic. Boomers. I can't believe I wore bell bottoms. Gen X. I can't believe I wore my hair like that. Millennials. I can't believe I was a goth emo. Gen Z. I can't believe I cut my dick off. I can't believe I cut my dick off. Man. Oh, if I could do it all again, being young. I was young, though. I was young. Oh. Not a sane world. Not a sane world where the thing that people regret in their 30s or 40s is cutting off their reproductive organs. Not a sane world. Not a sane world. Couldn't you just have got me a tattoo or something? Did you have to cut off my dick? Not a sane world. All right. What else we got here? Back off or I'll kill yourself. This is we've got top tier memes on this on here tonight. This is some good memeing. You got to admit, these are some classics here. Back off or I'll kill yourself. And she means it. Look at her face. Oh, she's a mean lady. Ever since I just remember watching for the first time her cackling when she was, Gaddafi. I'm not saying he was a great guy or something, but his death was horrible, gruesome, genuine. You wouldn't wish it on anybody. And her just cackling. We came, we saw, he died. His death was horrific. It's as if she'd planned it herself. Yeah, she's evil. Let's just say she's evil. But I do want to say, just be clear on this. I do not have any information that would lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton. Just want to be clear. Just want to be clear. And I'm not suicidal. I'm very happy. Let's see. Politics in one picture. Once I'm elected, I will become vegetarian. This is Zoran Mamdani in New York. We've got a bit on him coming up, too. What else we got here? They arrested Elon Musk. They arrested and killed Peanut, but have not even tried to file charges against anyone on the Epstein client list. Government is deeply broken. He's not completely wrong, is it? Is he? Let's see. More squirrels and raccoons have been arrested than anyone on Epstein's client list. It's an affront to actual justice, is what it is. It's an affront to the idea that everybody's equal in the eyes of the law. It's an affront to that. All right, so that's all of the memes. Let's get over here for a second, and let's get back to the chat. All right. Nevada says, Richie, you're killing me with these memes. They're good memes. It's top tier memeing tonight. Rogue Thought says, Hillary, the queen of psychopaths. She sure does seem like one, doesn't she? It was that cackling at the "we came, we saw, he died" thing. That was disturbing. Let's see. Yeah, YouTube does not want people to see my live streams. Right? We had a couple of weeks there where we're getting like 1,500 people in, and then they just went right down. It's not organic. You have to understand, it's not organic. Let's see. JDL says R.I.P. Peanut and Fred. Yep. They will live forever now, though, those two. And their memory will do a great deal of good. Let's see. Noah says YouTube sucks. Yep, it's still full of censorship. Let's see. All right. Hold on. I want to check out something. Let's see. Yeah, we got more people on X, and we don't have a lot of people on X, but more people on X than YouTube. It seemed like they were going to let people see my live streams for a little while, and then they just shut it down the way that YouTube does. It's the algorithm. They're constantly updating it, and I guess there'll be like a crack where my thumbnails can get through for like a little bit until, they tweak it a bit more, and then it catches it. I'm not saying they're doing it specifically to my stuff on YouTube. I'm just saying this is algorithmic and just catching, I don't know, because every video is transcribed automatically, by the way, so they know the algorithm knows what's in every video, every word spoken, right? So there are times when my videos can fall through the cracks, or my thumbnails can actually be seen, and but it corrects itself, and then my views will go down by like 95% overnight and stay that way for a long time, which is not organic, by the way. That's how you know it's not organic. What else we got going on, though? What else is happening? What about this? What do you guys think of this? Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units, folks. Only 1,000. Don't get left behind. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than I don't know why they say CNN fact check, because that doesn't make any sense to me. But in any case, the smooth medium roast and the vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. Guess what? No crash, no commies. All single origin, small batch, toxin free. We don't want those toxins. And mold free. Mold is gross. Plus, you're also getting, now listen to this, you're going to get a gold spoon clip. That's right, a gold spoon clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. Everybody knows that, even a commie. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions. That's dangerous. And a black 1775 tumbler that says, "Hey, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch." She's probably out protesting a Tesla dealership right now, sea witch. $170 worth of coffee and gear is yours for only, people, this is under $100. $99. That's $170 worth of coffee and gear. And you're pissing off that woke sea witch, anti, Trump retard mother-in-law. Where was I? This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Unless you're some sort of dirty, filthy commie, go to 1775coffee.com. That's 1775coffee.com. I'll break it down. That's 1775coffee.com / you're going to want to remember this, it's important, /studio, and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Imagine how sad you'd be if you went and they were all gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something. Is it free speech? Is it free speech? I bet you it is, just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. And every time you drink 1775 coffee, a commie cries. I'm having fun with that one. Izzy says 1776 out of 10. That's the most out of 10 you can get, folks. Let's see. This is a good one. I got to remember this. JG Nevada hits harder than a hammer on a commie's head. That's going to get me in trouble on YouTube. Don't do that. But, theoretically, let's see. Izzy says coffee ad could have used this an hour ago. Well, I don't know. I'm sorry. Whatever. I mean, Spambot says there was a 15-second pause. Was there? 15-second pause. What? That's weird. Spambot says, and my prior chat is showing as undelivered. Oh, well, was it something to do with the glitch? I wonder. I don't know. Maybe just reload it and try that. Rosie says 1775 starter kit, add bold, growly, vitality, no commies, 1777 out of 10. Now that's the most out of 10 you can get. JDL says lightning storm. Nice to look at. All right, not here. Let's see. No pause here, Nevada says. Nothing. Yeah, I think you just got to maybe just reload, I think. Spambot said, lightning storm here might have hit my local LTE tower. Oh, could be. All right. So what are we, 2.5 hours in? We've barely even scratched the surface. We got lots more to do. So from Libs of TikTok, according to CBP Commissioner, 10 illegal alien juveniles were found at this marijuana facility. 8 of them are unaccompanied. The facility is now under investigation for child labor violations at Gavin Newsom's California. So here is a tweet from Gavin Newsom, and I guess he's going to address this child labor on a marijuana farm. Let's see. Because that's just bad, right? I think everybody would agree that's bad, the child labor thing. And let's see, what does he have to say? Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum. I think maybe that Gavin Newsom is the scum for allowing, and I'm apparently advocating for this. Just seeing no problem here. No, it's California. It's part of our values that you have child labor on marijuana farms. Alternate reality. It's weird. I mean, to be this awful, this duplicitous, like you really have to be confident in your narrative, in the narrative control over the social programming or the social engineering in California, in the corruption of the political system in California, because this is insane. Like, I don't see how any sane politician, this is their take. So at this point, I mean, it really just does seem like actual insurrection, doesn't it? Like, this is just anti-American, is it not? You've got just full-on Bolshevism. You've got just full-on Bolshevism now in the United States. And the Democrat officials, the governors, the mayors, they side with it. They side with the Bolsheviks. They side with the Bolsheviks. They side with the revolutionaries. They side with the people all in black with their faces covered, burning, cars and attacking police. It's alternate reality stuff. It's dangerous. It's insane that things could have gotten this far in the United States. Andy, no, breaking. A major FBI manhunt is underway for the Antifa gunman accused of being part of the shooting ambush on the ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, by a North Texas Antifa cell. It's alternate reality stuff that you've got Democrat governors, Democrat mayors siding with outright Bolsheviks who just want to burn the whole thing down. They're not fans of Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass, by the way. Right? They go up against the wall as well, as far as they're concerned. Benjamin Song allegedly hid out in the woods for a day and escaped. So these people are Bolsheviks. From Gunther Eagleman, this is no longer just protesters. These are people firing at ICE officers because they're enforcing immigration laws. Why won't Democrats denounce this extreme left-wing violence? In fact, they endorse it. And they allow it, right? They see this as being beneficial. These are Bolsheviks. These are revolutionaries. They're saying the federal law does not matter. We are going to behave as if it doesn't exist. We are going to revolt against the state. This is revolution against the state, right? This is saying the law does not matter. It's insanity. And this is allowed. And, through their, tacit endorsement or through their silence on it or their duplicity on it, they're endorsing it.
Fox News alert, we're following a massive clash shaping up outside of L.A. Federal agents shutting down an illegal cannabis farm staffed by migrants. But hordes of resistors showed up to fight. Agents had to deploy tear gas to clear the road. The standoff has been going on for hours, and feds had to resupply federal agents who were boxed in. The U.S. Marshals were called in for backup, and they've arrested a handful of agitators. One of the protesters was found to be carrying a gun. So far, at least 3 people have been hospitalized. ICE needs more manpower. The big, beautiful bill will give it to them, but in the meantime, these agents are out on an island. Fox News alert, we're following a mass.
If you are a Bolshevik, if you're a revolutionary, this is the kind of destabilization that you've been waiting for, that you want, right? The anti-ICE riots in LA, the big ones where they were, lighting the robo-taxis on fire. That's the kind of destabilization that they want, that they're looking for. If you're like some intelligence chief or, the Chinese military, this is the kind of destabilization that you want. This is a victory. They will see this as a victory. Things are going great. They will see this as being a really positive development for China. All of this stuff. Of course, it's not just isolated to this. It's a ton. It's happening all over the place. This, just call it what it is. It's destabilization. Look.
Take a look at this video right here. It appears a protester fired some kind of gun at federal agents. This happened this afternoon. It was a really chaotic scene at the time. A lot of smoke was being launched at the protesters. And again, it appears a protester fired back with that weapon. Take a look at this video right here. It appears a protester fired some kind of gun at federal.
If you are a foreign adversary, if you're Iran or you're China, you're looking at this and you're saying, great, our active measures are working. It's working. This is great for China or Iran or somewhere, whatever foreign adversary, right, that is funding this sort of stuff, that is promoting this sort of stuff, right? I'm sure the CEOs at TikTok watch this and go, great, it's working. TikTok is fulfilling its destiny. From Western Lensman, not a peep on CNN or MSNBC about this story. This is one of the things that I find most surreal. Just CNN, MSNBC, corporate media actively covering for Bolsheviks, for revolutionaries, communist revolutionaries, who they're part of what these people want to overthrow, right? CNN and MSNBC is not getting spared from the wall. They're going to the wall too. In fact, they're probably first up to the wall. If the communists, the actual communist revolutionaries get what they want, it's insanity. CNN and MSNBC completely ignore left-wing domestic terror attack on ICE agents. We see some version of this in every Western country, certainly in Canada from the CBC. We see some version of them ignoring or coddling or, tacitly endorsing the worst people who want to burn down society. Let's see. All right. I think that's all I've got for that. Let's move on. Oh, yeah, we've got more. Okay. Sorry, we've got more here. Here, insurrection. Unhinged insurgents are attacking military personnel and vehicles in Camarillo, California. Or Camarillo, California. I don't know. Do you say it's, I guess it depends whether you're Spanish or not, how you say it. But here, there's more. I mean, look at these losers, too. Just this woman here, just the dregs of society. The reason they're doing it is because they know they are perfectly safe. At some point, I mean, you've already gotten one ICE agent that was shot in the neck. At some point, they're going to have to get hard. At some point, they're going to have to get tough. At some point, they're going to have to bring the hammer down, right? It's going to become too dangerous. At some point, the iron fist is going to have to come down, right? At some point, there has to be consequences. And I'm not saying, setting up a machine gun. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is these people need to start getting very, very serious prison sentences. Again, it's all very reminiscent of the years before the Russian Revolution and the abdication of Tsar Nicholas II. It's all the same kind of the lawlessness, the disregard for rule of law. It's all very reminiscent, very reminiscent. In fact, one thing that I found terrifying was the indoctrination and the infiltration of the military, United States military, because obviously, if you're a revolutionary, if you're a communist, you want to take over the military. So that's a very scary thing. The attempt to ideologically pervert the military should terrify everybody. Let's see. Nevada said, book them, Dano. Rogue Thought says, arrest all of them. Yeah, they're going to have to start doing that. Like, they're going to have to be tough, right? Like, Tsar Nicholas II was a very weak ruler. And because of that, just unimaginable horrors. It's not like, the czars were awesome, right? But compared to the communists, I mean, just unimaginable horrors were unleashed on the population because of the weakness of Tsar Nicholas II, right? Had he not abdicated, had he been a bit stronger and managed to maintain control, they were on their way to becoming, a kind of some sort of constitutional monarchy. Like the UK, they were, behind on that, but they're on their way. They were getting investment in, Western investment in. You wouldn't have needed the 5-year plans. You would have certainly you wouldn't have had collectivization, which millions of people died because of. You wouldn't have had Lysenkoism. Central planning is not very good at keeping people from dying by the millions. So you can't just stand by while lunatics take over your country, right? At some point, they're going to have to get tough. Mike Lee, remember when they mocked us for calling it an invasion? And yet here we are seeing violent insurgents attacking U.S. military and law enforcement personnel while waving foreign flags. Yeah, that's a sign that things are going wrong. While they're waving foreign flags, this seems to be an insanely soft touch to me. Let's see. What's this one? Well, we can come back to that one later. From Axios. So, what we're hearing, the grassroots wants more. Quote, some of them have suggested what we really need to do is be willing to get shot when visiting ICE facilities or federal agencies, a third House Democrat told Axios. Our own base is telling us that what we're doing is not good enough, that there needs to be blood to grab the attention of the press and the public, the lawmaker says. A fourth House Democrat said constituents have told them civility isn't working and to prepare for violence to fight to protect our democracy. Only they don't actually mean democracy. They mean their democracy, which by which they mean authoritarian far leftism. They're all communists. So all the people, the constituents saying this, these are all Bolsheviks. These are all revolutionary communists. Why would anybody think that there wouldn't be masses, like a lot of revolutionary communists, when you have academia actively trying to recruit and radicalize students en masse every single year for decades? Like, why wouldn't you have that? Of course you're going to have that. Of course, every idiot is going to become sympathetic to this cause and either be willing to be active in it or just to support it or tacitly support it or donate to it or vote for it. Why wouldn't you have that? Like, what? How could you have academia for decades? You have professors, and a lot of them actively trying to create revolutionaries for decades and not end up with a bunch of communist revolutionaries. Of course you're going to, right? That's inevitable. That was the purpose, and it will work. The only question is, can you create enough of them? 10 charged with attempted murder in planned ambush on ICE officers in Texas. Armed militants in body armor ambushed the ICE Prairieland detention facility on July 4th. An Alvarado police officer was shot in the neck after gunmen hidden in the woods opened fire. So,
facility, and this was part of an organized attack. Today, my office has charged 10 individuals with 3 counts of attempted murder.
Okay, you have organized attacks on ICE, on law enforcement enforcing federal law. I'm not saying civil war. I'm not saying that yet. But I'm saying Bolsheviks. I'm saying revolutionaries, right? These are people clearly who want to upend the established order. They want to upend the Constitution. And they see it as nothing more than a piece of paper. And if they win, well, then they're right. All right. What was this? This is from a while ago. Donaldo Trump. Let's watch this again. This is Alex Stein. I find him quite amusing. Let's take a look. I remember this. Let's watch it again.
Big booty Latinas can stay. Protect big booty Latinas. Well, I'm trying to protect them. I don't want them to get deported. I'm on your side.
Hey, you say that one more time. If he says that one more time.
I say big booty Latina. What are you gonna do?
One more time.
Big booty Latina.
One more time.
Big booty Latina.
Say that one more time.
Big booty.
Fuck you.
Isn't that the most embarrassing thing in the world? Somebody you keep saying, say that one more time. And then he says it. And there's one more, like, there's only so many times you can do that before you start to look kind of pathetic, right? And you just got nothing, right? Like, just saying it over and over again. And then the person keeps saying it and then you do nothing. It's diminishing returns, I guess, is my point.
Fuck you. Big booty Latinas get to stay.
Just go to the back right now. Hey, just go to the back right now. I'll show you how much of a coward I am.
Oh, I'm real scared. I'm real scared. Protect her. I want to protect all big booty Latinas. If she's a 9, she's fine. Protect big booty Latinas.
He's calling me out, but he won't go to the back with me real quick.
I'm not going to wrestle with 2 twinks and some fat Mexican.
Two twinks and some fat Mexican. Oh, there. Okay, so the face covering there. And who was this one here? This one here. The cute revolutionary. Like, what's this going on? She's got the beret on. She's a commie. These are all revolutionary. These are Bolsheviks, all of them, with no idea of what would happen to them if they actually got what they wanted. These are all Bolsheviks. These are all revolutionaries. It's totally insane. All right. This was from June 7th. Yeah, this was from LA. All right. So what do you guys have to say about all of this? Let's put let's find a different. Oh, this is a good one. I like this one here. This is instructional on how to make a drink. So that's a good one. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Let's see. Let's see. Rogue Thought says the university is supposed to be purged of the active. Well, the main activists at universities are the professors and the administrators. So the universities just need to be purged, right? You're talking about like in like psychology departments, you're talking about literally like 300 to 1 leftist to conservative. And they're not like, liberals from 20 years ago or 30 years ago. They're not your old burnout art teacher from grade 10, right? They just have to simply be purged. I mean, maybe the way to do it is just to completely defund all of them. Let's see. Let's see. Nevada says clearly an act of terrorism. Yeah, it's terrorism. It's in service of the revolution. I showed you guys the commie, revolutionary, and where was it, in Toronto, who just they talk openly about it, talking about how when all of this is torn down, then we'll have, they really do want to tear down civilization, right? So they can build their utopia on top of it. I don't think even they think it's going to be a utopia, right? They just think it'll be equity, and that's all that matters. That's more important than, I don't know, well-being, human well-being, or happiness. Spambot says, I have seen this meme of late. The only immigrants I want to see here in Canada is Tig Bitty women. Tig Bitty women. Always welcome. Let's see. Rosie says, I joined Radio Baloney chat for the first time 1 year ago. Math was racist then, and it still is. Let's see. Let's see. Rogue Thought says, LA is nuts. Mayor Bass is compensating illegals for trauma induced by ICE. These people. It's insane. It's totally insane. Well, she is a communist, by the way. She has a communist past, and she has to still be, I believe she's a communist still. Nevada says, yes, Bass is a hardcore commie. Yep. Ghetto Monkey, how you doing? Says, protect bartender and big booty Latinas. Words of wisdom. Let's see. Radio Streamer says, also, math is not racist, it's sexist. How else can you write 8008 on a calendar? We all did that. We all did that in grade 3. And it was fun. All right. Here we go. Spambot fodder. Spambot fodder. Gifted memberships, which is the most beautiful thing a person can ever do. And also, it means this. It means that Spambot. Spambot, I've said it before, Spambot is an earth angel. An angel sent to earth from God. Gifted a member, Radio Streamer was gifted a membership. Rogue Thought gifted a membership by Spambot. Mickey gifted a membership by Spambot. Guess what? And let me be clear here. When I say best person ever, I mean best person in all of human history, now, ever. In fact, I would even go so far as to say best person who will ever be born. Past, present, future, all of that. And it's all for less than the price of a new Tesla Cybertruck. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's beautiful. Radio Streamer, you are a gift to Radio Baloney. Thank you so much. And one more time. I got to stop talking about her, or else I'm going to start crying. So anyway, but thank you very much. Let's see. It's great. That is, I mean, it really is the best way to help the channel because, because when we do our next premium stream, which we'll be doing on Monday, everybody who's a channel member can watch that. So you can also watch premium if you become a premium member of Rumble, and then you get like Crowder and Tim Pool and Russell Brand and all of their extra content as well. But if you just become a channel member on Radio Baloney, then you can watch the premium content here, and also your comments get highlighted. It's awesome. It's great for the channel. So well done. All right, let's keep going. There's still we're 3 hours in, and we might have to go back and do one of our old school like 5-hour streams tonight because we still got a ton left. All right. Talking about communists, from Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who really knows how to fill out a bathing suit, Neville Singham, the billionaire communist with ties to the CCP, who funded the LA riots and used immigration and Mexicans as a Trojan horse for communism. Communism is at the root of all of it, whatever the issue, whether it's gender weighing, whether it's Palestine, everybody involved is a communist. If it's immigration, they're all communist. It's the thing that binds them all. It's the one ring. Is hiding from our letter requesting testimony. So this billionaire communist, which is just such a retarded thing to be, Neville Singham, is hiding from our letter requesting testimony. This poses an issue for delivering subpoena. Therefore, if he decides to hide in China, he will now be asking the State Department and Treasury to freeze his assets and visa. Singham is literally hiding. So oversight committee, oversight to investigate Neville Singham. Let's take a look here. Oh, all right. Dear Mr. Singham, the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is investigating your reported funding of various extremist entities in the United States. Reportedly, you have supported these groups with the aim of causing destruction and division in our country, including most recently through ongoing riots and violence in Los Angeles, California. Moreover, the committee is concerned that you may be engaging in such activities on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party and that your activity may violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So they're going after the people that are funding the riots and the lunacy and these various insurrections, which they have to do. They have to do it, and it's time. So let's see. To this end, we request you provide documents and information demonstrating your funding and control over certain far-left entities, including the Party for Socialism and Liberation, the PSL, a communist political organization that has fielded presidential candidates since 2008. They're hiding in plain sight. Party for Socialism and Liberation. For the planet to live, capitalism must end. So it looks like they took the environment angle on this. Whatever the issue is, whether it's climate, whether it's immigration, whether it's whatever's happening in the Middle East, whatever it is, whether it's gender, whether it's sex changes for children, whatever it is communism that holds it all together. And it's communism that binds them, right? It is Marxism that binds them. It is the one ring for the commies. It's the one ring for all of the activist groups. It's the communism that binds them. Always, right? And it's not just that they're just nice people who have different ideas. It's revolutionary communism. It is people who will upend civilization for their goals, right? They will burn everything down around themselves to rule over the ashes. There is historical precedent for this, right? Like people in Russia woke up one morning and the world was very, very different, and it was about to get unimaginably bad for millions upon millions. Right? Same thing with China, same thing with Cuba, same thing with Cambodia, same thing with North Korea. Like, no country starts out that way. It just happens. And all those people that are asleep and not paying attention, they wake up one morning and things are going to be different and not in a good way. I cannot express how important it is. How important it is for people to be aware of the Bolsheviks that we're living beside, that are living around us, right? That have infiltrated the institutions. I cannot overstate how important it is for the West to get serious about its own survival. These people take over. In Canada, they've taken over every institution. It would not take much of a push at this point. It really wouldn't. All right. So there's that. But yeah, they need to start tracking down the people that are funding all this lunacy. And yeah, it's usually, I mean, foreign powers will be involved. China will be involved. China will be involved with this. Lenin was funded by Germany for obvious reasons, right? He was funded by Germany in the hopes that he would destabilize the Tsarist regime. Do you think China's not doing the same thing? Do you think China's not doing the same thing? Your adversaries will use whatever advantage they have to destabilize your country. And everything that's happening, when you see people firing at ICE agents, when you see people standing on top of burning cars holding foreign flags, that's called destabilization. It's part of the plan. It's part of the plan. Lenin destabilizing the Tsarist regime was part of the plan. Right now, there were unintended consequences that went well beyond it, right? But that's the story of history, isn't it? Trademark Radio Baloney. History is the history of unintended consequences. But it's real, and it's happening now. And the question is, which side will prevail? And people should be aware of this. It should be in your mind. Let's see. What's going on here? Libs of TikTok breaking. T-Mobile has agreed to end its DEI policies according to a new filing with the FCC. Here's some good news. So this is a win. It's it's a win in the battle. It's not winning the war, but it's a win in the battle. T-Mobile will no longer have any individual roles or teams focused on DEI. T-Mobile is also removing any references to DEI on its websites and will ensure that company websites and future communications do not have any references to DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, that sounds good, right? That sounds pretty, that sounds like they mean it, right? Which is a very good thing. And what a relief it must be to any company that's, that hasn't yet been totally infiltrated at the highest executive levels to be able to say, oh, no, we can just stop this now. We don't have to do this anymore. We can just get rid of these awful fucking people that are making everybody's life miserable. These crazy people. We can get rid of the crazy people who see racism or sexism or whatever everywhere. The people that are just making shit up. We can get rid of them now. Thank God. Now, I think there's a lot of companies that have been infiltrated right up to the top who will want to hold on to it forever because they're ideologically captured. But as you can see, I think those ones where it's not yet, where they're still run by sane people who just felt extorted into hiring and creating these little awful counterproductive bureaucracies at their companies. I think those ones, they're probably the best moments of their lives. They said, okay, we can just get rid of these assholes now. Thank God. Do it. Get it done. Get them out. Escort them to the curb. Anyway, good news. That's good news. That's a loss for the commies. Now what's going on? What are you guys talking about now? Let's see. Rosie says, is Richie still interrupting our chat? Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to interrupt. Let's see. I want to see if you guys said anything about my rant about the commies and stuff. Let's see. I hope you guys didn't ignore that. JDL says, Spambot making Canada great again. Every second of every day. Let's see. All right. Nevada says we have the wrong 4s on here. I don't know what that means. How am I supposed to know what that means? Let's see. Rosie says, yeah, 4's off, but 8675309. No, it doesn't say that. 8675309. That's what it says. I got it. I got your number on the wall. That's a great song. Let's see. And thanks for bringing it up, Rosie. It's a great one. Let's see. Rosie says, when our kids were little, my husband always gave the 16-year-old clerk at Toys R Us our phone number, 8675309. They never got it. They never got it. And they're poorer for it as well. And let's see. Nevada says that was my number at Blockbuster. JDL says, Aha, Take On Me came out 40 years ago. Really? Oh, God. Don't want to think about it. Rogue Thought says, I can only buy so much ammo, radio. Uh-oh. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Okay, blah, blah, blah. What are we? 3 hours and 15 minutes in. Okay, we still got a ton to do, too. Rosie says DEI was a requirement to be on the stock exchange. Maybe was it really? I didn't know that. I know it was a requirement to eat. Well, there was ESG for BlackRock and all of that stuff. So if you wanted any money, let's see. Let's see. All right. Rosie says, just teasing, Richie. We love you. Rent 10 out of 10. When did you insult me? I missed it. I missed it. All right. All right. Either way, I'm getting tired, guys, but we're getting closer to where we need to get to. Okay. Trump announces 35% tariffs on all Canadian goods. You know what? This, I just have to, I don't have the energy. I can't do it. Let's see what else we got. So, Kareem Assad, lawyer and political satirist, Toronto's new normal. So, because the mainstream media in Canada won't ever cover anything like this or go and talk to anybody or do anything on the street, it falls to people to do it independently. And we have people like Kareem Rules. We have people like the many good people that work at Rebel. And let's check this out.
This part is new, and maybe the cost of doing business downtown for certain demographics.
So that's a Jewish cafe, I believe. It's called, it's in Toronto. It's called Goldstruck, which is kind of funny. I've got to say, Goldstruck. I don't know, might want to change the name. But in any case, is that the cost of business? Is this having to put this stuff up, these protective measures, the cost of doing business if you're going to be a coffee shop in Toronto now, if you're Jewish? A Toronto coffee shop owned by a Jewish family has been vandalized for the third time this year. So this is now just becoming the new normal in Toronto. And I guess because Israel or something and Zionism, and that's why you have to attack a coffee shop because it's like a Zionist coffee shop. I mean, I don't know. I think maybe we're starting to see something that, like, have you ever read the Hamas Charter? I read it for everybody on this channel. It's explicitly genocidal. Right, just explicitly, like they make it very clear what from the river to the sea really means, right? At some point, will the Canadian media grapple with this, with what's actually happening with what's actually happening? You know, with the mobs on the streets, taking over, the streets of like Toronto and Montreal constantly, and chanting "Death to Canada" and "Death to Israel" and "Death to the Zion." At some point, you would think the mainstream media would grapple with it and go, okay, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious that they just don't like Jews, right? We never had these problems before. You never had people shooting at like Jewish girls' schools, for instance, right? We just didn't have people, actually, mobs taking over streets, chanting "Death to wherever." Right, that wasn't a thing before Trudeau. That just "Death to whoever" was just not a thing in Canada. That really, it wasn't well, I guess what's now a traditional value according to Mark Carney, but that was never really a traditional, part of traditional Canadian values. Really just death to anything. I don't remember a single time before Trudeau and his immigration policies ever seeing mobs on the street chanting "death to just whatever," to anything. Nothing. That just wasn't a part of Canada. I kind of preferred it that way. So this is it's the new normal, I guess, for Canada. Thanks, Trudeau. Thanks, Mark Carney. Thanks a lot. I've never seen mobs of Jewish people in Canada marching around demanding death to anything. It's just really not been a very Canadian thing until recently. Again, according to Mark Carney, these are Canadian values now. So I guess case closed. The new normal. The new normal. This is what happens when everybody falls asleep. This is what happens. You wake up and your country is different. Here's Toronto now. What happened to Canada? We know exactly what happened to Canada.
This is the best system that they have for disposing garbage. Collection station. You're just gonna leave the garbage right there in front of everybody. Then. This city is starting to turn into a third world country, man.
I wonder why that would be. How do you turn your country into a third world country? It's a riddle. We'll never figure it out. Let's see. And of course, yes, let's see. Tonight's CBC boiling map predicts doom for Alberta. Fiery doom. Yes. I mean, look at that, 23 degrees in Calgary. My God. Is there anybody still alive there? All right. So, yeah, Canada's screwed. All right, I wanted to talk about this briefly because I think there might be a side angle to this, which is interesting. From Josh Ryan posted this. Bet you thought this woke nonsense ended with Trudeau. Wrong. The Carney government has earmarked $6.5 million in taxpayer money for the Republic of Moldova for an initiative to, quote, enhance climate resilience and promote gender equality. So this is real. And here we go. Government of Canada. Canada funds technical assistance project in the Republic of Moldova. And let's see. Are there any buzzwords in here that would decide whether people get money or not? Let's see. Addressing climate change and advancing gender equality. These are the only parts you need to read, actually. UN Development Program and UN Women. Right? The same UN that puts Saudi Arabia in charge of its Commission for Women's Rights. Let's see. Rural women entrepreneurs in the agroforestry sector. So before anything, I just want to say that Moldovan climate change and gender equality is none of Canada's business. Did they even ask, or did we just offer it? Right? UN development programs and UN Women is none of Canada's business. Rural women entrepreneurs in Moldova is none of Canada's business, and we shouldn't be borrowing money to give them to that, which I think that if we were to suspect that none of the money is going to actually go to any of this, I don't think that would be crazy. That seems totally plausible. But just on a side issue of this, where is Moldova? Moldova is right next to Ukraine, and there's also a little part of, it's like right around here. They won't show it on these maps for some reason, but it's called Transnistria, which is a Russian-aligned little territory, which is just a little strip along the border here, very thin. But Moldova would seem to be kind of important geopolitically if you're planning on fighting to the last Ukrainian. So with U.S. aid being closed down, although it's not really, because some of what it was doing has been moved to the State Department. So, and the United States is going to continue to try and influence other governments, overthrow other governments. It's going to continue to happen. But with the shuttering of USAID, I wonder if Canada's picking up some of the slack here, at least maybe for the EU, at the command of NATO, perhaps, for some basically intelligence influence operations in Moldova. Again, it is, if you want to fight to the last Ukrainian, it is an important geopolitically, it is an important spot for that. Moldova has a complex relationship with Russia, characterized by both alignment and divergence. While Moldova is officially neutral and pursuing closer ties with the European Union, it also faces significant Russian influence and has a history of dependence on Russian energy and trade. Russia has also been accused of attempting to destabilize Moldova through disinformation campaigns and supporting pro-Russian factions within the country, which is something that, like, the Canadian government would never do. The Canadian government would never have a disinformation campaign. Oh, wait a second. The entire thing is the entire government is one big disinformation campaign. I forgot. So it's not like Moldova is going to decide who wins the war, or, as the Russians say, the special military operation. But obviously it's right there. It's bordering Ukraine. So it for the planners at the top, they will see it as important. I'm sure they are messing around and influencing and what's the word I'm looking for here? Disrupting every country around here. I mean, just every country, period. There's some level of, influence or control going on from somewhere at some level. So I thought that was interesting. I have no evidence of this. It's total speculation, but it just makes me wonder. And it does seem like, why is Canada so interested in gender equality and addressing climate change in Moldova exactly? How much is Moldova changing? How many forest fires in Canada is Moldova causing? I wonder. Right? Rural women entrepreneurs. Is this really a priority for Canada? Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So maybe in time, I will be proven correct on that. Of course, like everything. Let's see. What do we got here? So this Zoran Mamdani is really the gift that just keeps on giving for content creators, at least. Sammy Antar. Zoran Mamdani says the NYPD is an instrument of white supremacy and oppression. My goodness, I never could have imagined him saying something like that. I never could have imagined a communist saying something like this. More than half its officers are Black and Latino. The way that they think, though, the way that these radical leftists, these communists think, is that first off, capitalism is whiteness and therefore white supremacy. So it doesn't matter what your background. If you're a business owner, Black, Latino, Chinese, whatever, that's white supremacy because capitalism is white supremacy. This is their insane ideology, right? So it really doesn't matter, right? It's like when they say, diverse voices. They don't mean different voices. They mean everybody says the exact same thing. Total ideological conformity, but different colors. So let's be clear, Mamdani isn't just attacking the system. He's smearing thousands of working-class New Yorkers of color as foot soldiers for evil. Well, in their ideology, it is. I mean, capitalism is white supremacy to them. So therefore it's evil. And it doesn't matter what your background is. The biggest risk of Mamdani mayorship, this is from Michelle Tandler, mass exodus from New York Police Department. This occurred in San Francisco under the radical left DA, Chesa Boudin. Yeah, obviously, if you don't want to be treated terribly and be at great risk, you want to get the hell out of there or just go mad from the insanity, right? From the lunacy of the policies and what you have to allow to happen to your fellow citizens and fellow New Yorkers. But there will be an exodus also of money from New York, but there'll also be a rush of people who want benefits, right? Who want to just collect money for doing nothing. They will rush to New York City and it will be a shithole. Way worse than it is now. Of course that will happen. That's just human nature, right? Zoran Kwame Mamdani. We don't need an investigation to know that the NYPD is a racist, anti-queer. Why is it anti-queer? And a major threat to public safety. That's right. In upside-down lunatic world, in revolutionary communist world, and this all makes sense. Or at least it makes sense politically to say it, to achieve your goals, to convince smooth-brained people to become useful idiots. This is from June 28th, 2020. This is not 30 years ago. Obviously, he still believes all of this. What we need is to defund the NYPD. That's right. With your but your deal with New York City Mayor uses budget tricks to keep as many cops as possible on the beat. No to fake cuts, defund the police. Now, of course, communists are going to have police. They're going to need people to enforce the ideology, right? But defund the police, you have a breakdown in society. They come in with the solution to the problem that they caused, and the solution is communist police, far leftist police, police with different rules, right? Police with rules that benefit authoritarian communist rule. That's what you get. They will bring the police back in. They're going to need them just to protect themselves, right? But there'll be different rules all of a sudden. They will be totally ideological at that point. Their goal will be to just simply protect the regime. His regime in New York City. How bad can things get? How much conflict can there be between like a city or a state and the federal government? Well, there has been in the past, right? Things could get nutty. At some point, strong action will need to be taken, right? You can't just let your country be taken over by communists. You can't let them just walk in. You can't let guys like this just walk in and take it and destroy hundreds of years of history. Eventually, there'll have to be strong action taken. I don't mean that setting up machine guns on street corners. I mean arresting people that are breaking the law, people that are actual insurrectionists, traitors. If he's going to break federal law, like with sanctuary cities, right? You need to eventually, I think what's going to happen is that they'll just have to arrest the people that are making the sanctuary cities. They're breaking the law. They're breaking federal law. I think that's probably what will happen. All right. Mark says it intensifies. I mean, I'm just looking at this from, historical perspective and just what happens. What happens. And I do think back a lot to the Russian Revolution. I do think back to that a lot. And, they say that history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. So, all right. Let's get to the chat for a second. Let's see. Let's see. Rogue Thought says, I remember when the first mouse was introduced for the Lisa. What was the Lisa? That strikes a chord. Let's see. JDL says, my VCR still blinks 12 o'clock. Let's see. The Nevada says maybe they just hate the Jewish blend at the coffee shop. Yeah, perhaps. It's really insane that it's just ignored. Like, it's up to independent journalists to document this stuff in Canada, like a Jewish bakery or Jewish coffee shop getting repeatedly vandalized. We all know why, but the mainstream media not interested, or if they do, it's just as little as possible. They don't want to talk about it. It brings up too many uncomfortable questions, too many non-narrative questions, too many questions about the government, about immigration policy in Canada. But I just never thought I'd see the day when it would just be so out in the open in Canada, and you have an elite here that would rather hide it for political reasons, or maybe they're just for it. Maybe most people at the CBC say, well, it's a Zionist coffee shop, whatever the fuck that means. I mean, it's kind of the whole kind of, well, it's Zionism. It's kind of getting a bit thin at this point. Let's see. Nevada said, try a bagel. Come on. They have the best bagels in the world in Montreal. Let's see. Spambot says, Kanakistan is already third world. Well, look, I don't disagree. I don't think we're third world yet, but your point stands in that, like, can you say that Canada is still a first world country when prior to Trudeau, if you were a young couple, right, you want to start a family and you wanted to get a home, was it going to be difficult? Sure, but it was doable. The price of getting a little house somewhere wasn't 80 times your annual income. 10 years after Trudeau, and it's going to get worse under Mark Carney, that dream is dead unless you have lucked into a lot of money, unless you're inheriting a place, unless your parents have a ton of money and can help you out. That dream is dead for just a normal young couple in Canada, right? You might as well be in Europe. You might as well be in Madrid or something where you are never going to have a house. You're going to be in an apartment. If you're going to have a family, doesn't matter if there's 10 of you, you're living in an apartment. That's what Canada's turning into. When that opportunity is gone, can you still call yourself a first world country? I'm not sure that you can. It's certainly different. It's not the same country anymore. If you're a young couple looking to start your life together and start a family, it's a different world. And for many of them, that dream that they would have had 10 years ago that they could have achieved is now gone through many parts of the country. Even if you go out to the middle of nowhere, you're going to pay $500,000 for an old house. Literally, even in rural communities. It's insane. I think it's a bit cheaper in like Alberta, but it ain't cheap there anymore either. Let's see. But yeah, I think your point stands, Spambot. Rogue Thought says, funny how Canadian news looks like UK news, looks like French news, almost like a plan. We might have talked about that on this channel before. I think I agree. Sure does look like a plan, doesn't it? Let's see. JJ Nevada, invite to the third world. Well, you know what happens. Let's see. Rosie says, in my mind, Canada always meant peace. Draft dodgers went, regular people crossing border without passport, etc. So shocking when Canada attacked their own with truckers, convoy, and yeah, it's not the same country. The country is a different country than it was. Trudeau fundamentally changed the country. He created generational damage, which now Mark Carney is going to continue. Canada is not the same country. The Liberal Party, when he took it over, was more or less a centrist, left-leaning party. He transformed it into a radical leftist, far-left progressive party. That's the same party that Mark Carney is ruling over now without any real difference. It's a different country. It has changed. Even the CBC has changed. As bad as it was before, it was nowhere near as bad as it is now, because Trudeau gave permission. Trudeau gave permission to every ideologue to indulge their worst ideas, to indulge their worst, narcissisms and fantasies. Trudeau publicly just gave permission to just every far-left nutcase to take it as far as they want in every institution. We're talking judges. We're talking about police chiefs, mayors, premiers, every institution, every, college of psychologists, whatever. He gave permission to them. He said, it's go time. All these people who'd been restrained by a sense that, well, we can't be that crazy or else there'll be a backlash. That was gone with Trudeau. He said, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm going to go kneel over these pretend graves with a teddy bear, over these graves that don't exist, because I think it's politically expedient to pretend that they do. Just, carry on while I'm doing this. Trudeau, when a country falls asleep and you have a lunatic, an idiot, like Justin Trudeau take over, he can wreck your country in a decade. If you keep electing him, it definitely can do it. And that's what happened with Canada. And now, again, as I say it over and over again, the question is, will Canada recover? Will it eventually, at that next fork in the road, will it do what the United States did with Trump? Will it decide we're just going to become San Francisco now, or we're going to say, actually, maybe we had it right before. Maybe we've taken the wrong way with Trudeau, with Carney, with this new radical far left version of the Liberals. Maybe we don't hate ourselves. Maybe we don't need to be perpetual masochists. Maybe we don't need to pretend that Canada is this perpetual genocide state and it's not even really a country and no core identity. And we have to hate ourselves constantly and constantly apologize to people that we have no reason to apologize to. So that fork in the road is coming up. My fear is that we're just San Francisco now, or LA or New York or Chicago or somewhere, or Seattle or something, that we'll just never learn. It'll just be, well, that lunatic didn't help, so let's vote for a new lunatic, same party, new lunatic, and that'll fix everything. Let's see. Don't use the U word. I'm not going on a U word rant. Not doing it. Let's see. All right, I'm going to skip through, blah, blah, blah. Spambot says Canada is a third world country now. I would say second world country, but I'm not going to argue with you. It's going downhill. Let's just say that. Rogue Thought says, I'm in Washington State, so I'm not too disconnected from this madness. Yeah. It's the same everywhere. It's like the cities are loony, and then the rural areas are sane. All right. Anybody who's not subscribed, subscribe right now. Just go ahead and do that right now. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to go into a big thing about it. Just subscribe right now. It's a really important thing. Become a channel member, whatever. Just do what you need to do. Like the stream. Liking the stream is extremely important. Everybody does it now. Everybody's doing it. I mean, you don't want to be a loser, right? I mean, the thing I heard is that commies cry when people like the stream and subscribe to the channel and become channel members. That's what I heard. It makes communists cry. Literally, it makes them cry, like screaming. Like it's actually uncomfortable to listen to. Like you don't even want to hear it. But anyway, subscribe and then that'll happen. So that's a good thing. Let's see. Indoctrination, you mean, RB? Did I misspeak something? It's 3 hours and 43 minutes in, so I'm probably misspeaking quite a bit and saying wrong words. Spambot says, I love living in my rural town here in Alberta. I really like Alberta. I really like it. I only left to be closer to my family, to my kids, and I moved away briefly for about 3 years. And then I had to move back to be closer to my parents and my kids and stuff. But I could easily live in Alberta again. I loved it there. Rosie says, not a U word rant. Go back to the Moldova article. All right, let me Spambot says, no commies, no lefties, no woke nonsense. And the gay couples do not want groomers in schools. So even they are based. Fantastic. Beautiful, beautiful. That's why Alberta's great. Make Alberta great again. Radio Sherman says, yes, we found the cause in Moldova. Was it updates? Are they trying to force software updates on Moldova to destroy the country? All right, let's what are we at now? So we're at oh yeah, another Zored bombed out. I mean, it just never ends. If we want, this is from December 1st, 2020. If we want everyone to be full participants in the economy, we need worker ownership of the means of production. He's a commie. He says that the end goal is seizing the means of production. I've shown that to you guys a bunch of times. Worker ownership of the means of production. He's a commie. Don't let anybody gaslight you out of things. Commies talk about seizing the means of production. Commies talk about communes. He's a commie. Here, each according to their need, each according to their ability. Communist. He's a commie. Like, how much more obvious can it be? Anyway, all right. What's going on here? This is the last thing. I don't know if we're going to get through all of these because I'm getting too tired, folks. Let's see. Did I say subscribe and everything and also like the stream? I think I said that. All right. Oh, yeah. This is terrifying. This is a definitely no thanks thing. Let's take a look. Like, so what do you call that? Like a crevice or a fissure or something like that? Like, I don't know what's at the bottom of that, but it's nothing good, right? Like, you could just go down that and then that's it. You're just gone. It's like, where'd he go? He went down there. Oh, I guess he's gone now. I guess he's just gone. Should we go down and get him? I think he's just gone. I think it's just gone now. What's down at the bottom of that? Nothing good. He's gone. Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. Let's see. I would play. Let's come back to that one maybe. Here's a good thing on the. This is very. I think we've seen this before, but this is some common sense on reparations. Let's take a look. Let's take a quick peek.
This woman ended the reparations debate in just a few seconds.
The practice of slavery was legal. We need to remember that governments did not own slaves. Slave owners did. In fact, the U.S. government fought a war to end slavery. How much should the descendants of the 400,000 Union soldiers who lost their lives fighting to free the slaves pay to the descendants of the slaves they freed? It's bizarre to suggest that human beings should inherit the outrage of the deeds of their parents. Should the child born from a rapist be branded a rapist because of his father's criminality? Should the child of a mass murderer be sent to prison because of his father's crime? No. In America, in the main, it was the Democrats who owned slaves, and the Democrats who in the main passed and enforced Jim Crow laws. It was also the Democrats who founded the Ku Klux Klan. Should the current Democratic Party be held responsible for this? No. We do not inherit the sins of our fathers.
Reparations are such a affront to the idea of kind of personal rights, but personal responsibility. Like Christianity, one of the great new ways of thinking that sprung from one of the great ways of thinking about humans and personal responsibility sprung from Christianity, and that was that you're not responsible for your ancestors. You're not responsible for your group. It's a personal God. You are responsible alone for your own sins, your own relationship with God. It's self-accountability. It's the root of what has made Western civilization successful. Right? You are personally responsible. It's nobody else. Your brother's sins are not your sins. Your sins are your sins. You are responsible for yourself. It's a personal God, a personal relationship with God. It's not group and it's not tribal. And it was a new way of thinking about society. Right? So it's just the idea of reparations is such a fundamentally un-Western. It's really a very alien idea. Right? You're not responsible for anybody else. And, that may be social justice, but social justice isn't justice. That's not what we ever meant by justice. Right? That's adding a qualifier onto the word justice to make it mean something else, which is actually injustice. But the idea of reparations, that you're responsible for your ancestors, is a very alien idea for Western civilization, and I think it should stay that way. Yeah, because there's not much justice in that. As she says, if your father was, a rapist, that doesn't make you one, and of course it shouldn't, and that's totally unfair. I mean, if we're talking about justice as fundamentally as fairness, it's unfair. So, anyway, I think that in fact, let's continue a little. Let's continue with this.
Parents. Should the child born from a rapist be branded a rapist because of his father's criminality? Should the child of a mass murderer be sent to prison because of his father's crime? No. In America, in the main, it was the Democrats who owned slaves, and the Democrats who in the main passed and enforced Jim Crow laws. It was also the Democrats who founded the Ku Klux Klan. Should the current Democratic Party be held responsible for this? No. We do not inherit the sins of our fathers.
It's interesting, the kind of irony of the, identitarianism, right? So, yeah, Democrats were, the party of slavery, of Jim Crow. They were identitarians. They're still identitarians now, right? And their concept of race is not really that much different, right? Like, so they talk about diverse voices, but yet they say that Larry Elder, on the front page of the LA Times, say that Larry Elder is the the black face of white supremacy because he's not a leftist. Right? They're not looking for diverse voices. They're looking for total conformity. They're saying that there's something wrong with Larry Elder for not falling in line, for not just falling into the prescribed ideology that has been assigned to him due to physical characteristics. So it's all the same thing at the end of the day, is it not? Is it not? They haven't changed at all. I mean, they've changed the they've changed the methodology. That's it. But ultimately, it's all the same thing. And I brought up that article many times before, that Democrats, and you could just transpose this to liberals in Canada or Labor in the UK, wherever, they actually change the way they speak. They dumb down how they speak when they're talking to a minority. Because in their mind, I mean, they are still fundamentally identitarians, right? They don't see an individual. They see a faceless part of some identity blob that ultimately they never admit it, but you can just kind of deduce from their behavior. If you're dumbing down your language when you're talking to them, you think they are lesser than you. So the whole thing is just shot through with irony. A lot of actually, I guess, tragic irony, you could say. But that's an insight. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Spambot Fodder says, I want reparations from Quebec. They owe Alberta $500 million in transfer payments. That's probably up to like $500 billion by now. I can't say that you're wrong. I can't say that you're wrong. Catamonkey, I hope the Crevasse Rescue Squad is DEI. We can only hope. Let's see. Rosie said the snow was terrifying. I know. No thanks. That's what I say. No thanks. Hey, do you want to go skiing on crevasses, on glaciers? No thanks. Not anymore. I would have said yes when I was 20. Now, no. Not a fan of them crevasses that go down to nowhere and you just disappear. Let's see. Rogue Thought says reparations come in many different camouflage packages, never clearly defined. Yeah, well, they're used social, like benefits are used as reparations a lot of way. Like affirmative action. There's lots of different kinds. You're right. All right, let's keep going. I'm getting tired. I don't know if we're going to do that many more because we're coming right up on 4 hours. But I did want to show you this. Johnny Midnight, former NHL player Nick Tarnasky, goes WWE on drunk guy at golf course in Canada. Did the drunk deserve it? I'm going to say yes. And there's an important lesson in this. For one, don't drink if you're going to act like this guy. When I saw this, it made me think, I'm really glad that I quit drinking. Also, don't be like this. Don't get drunk. Act like this. To a giant former hockey player who could obviously handle you with no problem. Let's take a look. What I might do right now is that before I show that, let's pause this because it might get me in trouble with YouTube. So we've given YouTube 4 hours tonight. I think that's enough. The people watching on YouTube right now, please come and join us for a stream on Rumble. And introduce yourself to the chat. That's all the chat you see on the screen. That's all from the Rumble community, right? Awesome community. Come over, introduce yourself. You'll have a great time. But anyway, thanks for showing up. And we will hopefully see everybody who watched us on YouTube on Sunday night as well. So see you later, YouTube. All right.